Really?
He's a lawyer.
All right, Commissioner.
It's 9 o'clock. Very good. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for attending. We'll start out with Rich giving us an opening prayer, and then Commissioner Cousins will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, as we bow our heads, we gather together as a public body to discuss the affairs of this Iron County, responsibilities and obligations to its citizens, as well as to put forward those ideas and thoughts that will best benefit this nation as a whole. We are grateful, Father in heaven, for this privilege, and we are grateful, Father in heaven, for this democracy in which we live and for this republic in which we participate. We ask Thee to bless our service members who are performing their duties as ordered, that they may be protected and perform their duties to the utmost of their ability with integrity and good conscience. We ask Thee that Thou would bless our law enforcement and first responders as they perform those duties which protect our community, that they will be watched over and given inspiration as to conduct their business in the best way possible. We pray for this commission, that Thou will bless these members of our commission that we've elected, that they will put forward thoughts and act on issues in the best interest of all citizens. And these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the March 23rd meeting.
I'll entertain that motion to approve the March, what was it, 11th?
March 23rd.
21st.
23rd.
March 23rd minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pay our claims for payment.
Move for approval of claims for payment for March 23rd, 2026 to April 12th, 2026.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we can go into our department reporting, which we have none, so it's just us today.
Help you prepare to talk.
It's okay to be done a little early.
This could be short and sweet. Is there anything against starting the next meeting before 10?
We can't do that.
Well, the problem is the public hearings are fixed. Yeah.
10. Okay.
I've got some stuff.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
It's been pretty busy. Had our government affairs meeting, and that's mainly sponsored by the Iron County Home Builders Association, where we have representatives from the real estate builders, the different city councils, county commissions, and different organizations within our county, and talk about what's going on. And had that. It went good. We met, Rich Wilson and I met with a group. Jason Dodds was kind of the host of the meeting, and he works for Jones DeMille Engineering now. He used to be with NRCS, but we had a meeting and talked about forming basically a flood control authority consisting of Enoch, Cedar City, and the county. and we would, we've all got our different budgets for flooding issues in our different entities that we have stewardship over, but this would be more of a regional or county-wide authority that would handle that. Now, Rich, why didn't we? Why isn't Parowan? Why didn't we include Parowan in that and the West?
What we did is we looked at the area, and it's not that it can't be expanded, but we looked at the area that draws the drainage into the Cedar Valley.
Okay.
And so we drew a boundary around that area. The county would have to have a separate organization with Parowan because they're in a different flood basin. Canarisville's in a different flood basin.
And the
And so it was
West Desert as well.
and the purpose was to be able to have a situation where boundaries meet, that we have a consistency of how to deal with things.
Right.
So whereas the county surrounds everyone, we get the water from everyone, but we don't always have a consistent methodology or a planned methodology for dealing with that when it leaves the city incorporated to the unincorporated county. And this flood authority would allow us to have a holistic plan for all of that. But that's why it was only that Cedar Valley. We're going to try it there. We wouldn't be opposed to introducing others to our flood control authority. But let's see how this works out.
All right, thank you. But anyway, it was good. It was productive. We talked about raising a little bit of money for this authority to be able to have a budget to take care of our flooding issues. We've learned a lot over the years with different events that have happened. And I think it was 21 we had the big floods that we had 6 inches of rain at Cedar Breaks and 8 inches at Erie Creek within a 24-hour period, and it was insane. The Woodbury Split plugged up, and we were racing against time to get that unplugged, so all the water didn't go north. We barely got it unplugged before the next storm hit, but in the middle of the night, it brought down. It literally changed the landscape up Right-Hand Canyon. If you go up there and look at the landscape, that bridge that you cross right there, the water was actually 8 feet over the bridge. And if you look off that bridge, it's, 20 feet down? 32 feet down. So that was a lot of water coming down that canyon. And it brought trees. It brought a lot of debris down into, clear down, and a tree got stuck down just down past the Rocky Ridge gravel pit area down there, and it flooded that whole subdivision. In fact, the county later had to haul, I think, over 3,000 truckloads of sediment out of that subdivision to help those people out. Some of them had 4 feet of sediment in their yards, and so we've learned some lessons from these things. I think this authority will be good. We've kind of in the like last year, for instance, we George told us that NOAA was predicting a pretty good storm, and it barely missed us, but it could have been a bad one. And so we had track holes, and Cedar City and the other entities, Enoch, were good about, we staged track holes at all of the different bridges so that in the middle of the night, if we had an emergency, we could jump on a hole and keep those streams clean and flowing so that we didn't have those same kind of problems. So we have learned some lessons, and this will be another step in helping coordinate different entities and making sure we're prepared for these emergencies moving forward. I met with the 5-County Southwest Board of Health last week. That's always good. Dr. Blodgett he is the only actual medical doctor that is over a Board of Health AOG in the state of Utah, and he does a fantastic job. We appreciate him and what he does. We continue to work on our jail meetings. We have those every Tuesday, and we continue to attend those and move forward on the construction of the jail with Layton Construction and Babcock Design. That's moving forward and doing well. I attended the Planning Commission meeting, this last Planning Commission. They talked a lot about the data center again and went through the different conditions that they would impose upon that Antelope or that Pronghorn Development Group, if they were to move forward. And I thought that they were very thorough. Ken was there as well. Commissioner Robinson was there, and they asked us to get up. Michelle Tolis asked us to get up and talk a little bit about some of the things that we knew, and we did our best to get up and talk about some of the things that we understood through this process, and it was a good meeting, and went through that. I attended the Cedar Beaver water meetings out in Enoch. Unfortunately, we didn't have a quorum. We were going to elect some new leadership in that. We didn't have a quorum, so we're going to have to do that the next time, or do a special phone-in meeting and do that. The other thing I wanted to talk about for a minute, since we have time, I want to talk a little bit about our group homes out in the West Desert. We've got a group home out there, and I don't even know who they are. I don't know the owners. I don't know anything about it, but I've had complaints from owners out there, property owners. Some of these kids are, I don't know what the term is, if it's escape or whatever it is, but they're leaving their group at night. They're going out. They're breaking into cabins. They're doing property damage. One kid got on a backhoe and started driving it down the road until it ran out of gas. And this isn't just one event. This has happened a lot. I think it's happened about 5 or 6 times to one property owner, and I think it's time. It's really a drain on our law enforcement because they have to go out and deal with this. And I think it's time that Sam, you guide me on my comments, but I think it's time we really take a serious look at the conditional use permits of these organizations and threaten to revoke their conditional use permit if they don't get a handle on their kids. They're making a lot of money on these things, and whether they need to do a fence around their property to keep them in at night, whatever they have to do, but something has to be done immediately on this situation. I know that the other group homes we have in our area, my personal opinion, if the group home's doing good and they're doing okay, then we grandfather them in. But I think moving forward, we take a really serious look at allowing any more in our county with zoning issues. And I don't know how the legalities of that would work, but I think we need to send a clear message to these groups that they need to shape up, or we're going to take action. So I don't know what you think, Sam. But
No, I think that's a reasonable feeling to have, especially in light of the concerns that you raised. What that will actually look like, we need to have those conversations, but I think you've pointed to a couple of different areas of inquiry at the very least. So, yeah.
okay. And that's all I have.
Go ahead.
All right. So I met with Mayor Nelson from Cedar City and Bruce Anderson, our roads guy. We're looking at redoing the parking around our Council on Aging facility in Cedar City. We have a lot more seniors that come than we have parking spots, and the back actually slopes down. So when we have people that are walkers, wheelchairs, or difficulty walking, they actually have to walk up a grade. The problem is twofold for the county and the city. The city would actually like to have more parking area back there to access the Eastside Canyon Park. And so we met to look at doing a combined project with the city and the county to basically tear that whole thing out and redo it so it's much more friendly for our seniors, and it gives a lot more access to the Eastside Canyon Park. So we've got our road departments respectively working on that. So that's something that's probably, we're looking at a next year's project, but we've got the ball rolling on that one. Met with the president of Intermountain Cedar City Hospital, Jameson Robinette, with George, our emergency manager, and the sheriff. We've decided that we just need regular coordination meetings. to make sure that we're meeting each other's needs when it comes to security of detainees that we bring in and what the hospital can do and what we can do. Just a really pleasant meeting. We're just going to meet together often so that we just keep each other's needs in mind. That also kind of addresses issues with life flight and scene response, just to make sure that our folks are getting the best out of the best service that we can offer. I sat down with Ryan Robinson, the new Enoch City manager, and Jim Rushton, the new Enoch City mayor, just to kind of get to know each other a little bit better, talk about some interests and coordinate some things so that we've, building that relationship between the city and the county now that they have new administration. We've got an airport board meeting. Our flight schedules suck. But they got a little better. So SkyWest, we do have I believe it's an 8:30 a.m. flight now, which is better. The other flight we had was 1:30 in the afternoon. The problem is we are, what's the term? Basically, SkyWest is subsidized by the federal government to come in here because they can't operate on on the passengers that they have. That kind of puts us down the list as far as getting new flights and things like that. The other issue is they are short on aircraft. As far as they had to bench a bunch of aircraft when they were short on pilots. Now that they're getting their pilots back up, now they're having to go through and do inspections and recertify a bunch of aircraft. And they've assured us that once all that process is complete, that we can look at a better flight schedule. So that's something that we're continuously working on, as well as working to get an air traffic control tower here. We're the second busiest airport in the state and don't have controlled airspace. Between SU Aviation, fire resources during the summer, we're a very busy airport, and we feel like we need actually controlled airspace to make things safer. So those are just a couple of things that we work on as the airport board.
Commissioner,
Yes.
what are our just out of curiosity, what are our current employment numbers? Are we, because when I was on the city council, if we hit 10,000, we got like $1 million or something.
Yeah.
Have we
So
been hitting that?
we're hitting that,
Are we?
but not by much. So that's what's contingent. We have to hit that 10,000 employments to get that. I can't remember the name of the program. It's the federal. It's the federal government grant. It's the FAA grant. We have to hit at least 10,000 employments. We went through all that this last meeting, and I don't remember the number. Like we were, I want to say about 15,000. But those you got to kind of think about what they count as employments. That counts. A lot of SU Aviation count as employments. Private jets and stuff that come into the FBO count as employments.
So it's not just everybody going through TSA.
No,
there.
that's not everybody going through TSA. There's a lot that goes into that. So what we need are those numbers going through TSA, and that's hard. A lot of our travel out of Cedar City is business travel. So if you can leave Cedar City, if you have a 6 or 6:30 a.m. flight, get into Salt Lake by 7:30, and then you can make your meetings, and then an evening flight to turn around and come home in the evening. Well, they haven't had that evening flight for a little while, and the earliest flight in the day leaves at 1 in the afternoon, and so it's really cut down on those business passengers, and it drives them to St. George because St. George has that early morning flight. And so I think SkyWest it's not a big priority because they're like, well, they'll just drive to St. George and get on our flight there anyway. So it's kind of a vicious cycle. But we do have, I think our flight now is either 8 or 8:30 in the morning, which is better. The other thing is it's not only that business travel, but if people are traveling to the East Coast, it's tough. They have to leave early and get into Salt Lake early to make those connecting flights to the East Coast. So that 8 or 8:30 flight is better for that. So I mean, we're moving in the right direction, but it could still be better. So that's what we work on there. Jail. I actually took a ton of pictures at the jail this last week. I was going to put them together, maybe have John just do a little thing, and I didn't ever get a chance to put them together. So SU Aviation said, because they fly over there all the time, they said that they'd start taking some aerial pictures for us when they fly over and pass them on to us. They actually came over for our walkthrough on last Tuesday, and were baffled at the sheer size. They're like, we see it from the air all the time, and it's lovely, it's big, but it's, just the intricacies of how everything fits together and the security, and they were pretty amazed at the complexity and stuff. So that was good, but they're going to take us some pictures and so that we can share those. I met with several different companies this last couple of weeks on the economic development side that are potentially looking to either move or start up their businesses here in Iron County. Don't have any commitments, don't have any names that we can talk about yet, but it's exciting to see these people that have interest here. Commissioner Cousins brought up the group homes. So that's an issue that we've been working on for a while through the Children's Justice Center multi-team and advisory board. We actually tried to make some inroads through state legislation prior to this last legislative session, and there is nobody interested at the state level to look at those things. And we've talked, I'm glad Terry walked in, because we've had the discussion with the conditional use permits for group homes. They're reviewing some of those to see what we can do, because, as a cop, especially, I work nights over here in Parowan. I listen to those guys go out every single night, whether it's on what it is, and the sheriff's reported on it. But yeah, like you say, more and more, it's runaway juveniles from group homes. We still have the assaults and everything else that go on in those facilities, but yeah, more and more it's runaways that then wreak havoc out in the community. They're causing damage to residents and things like that. So yeah, we need to figure that out. I know that's. Yeah, come on down. I know we've discussed it. That probably needs to move up on our priority list a little bit.
Well, and I think so. And that's a good question, because I think Paul mentioned that Marilyn called me this morning, called Paul this morning. She did talk to me a week and a half ago about the problems we're having with Red Cliff Ascent. So I think it's important that we start looking at that.
Yeah, Red Cliff's Ascent is way out there, and we don't usually have problems with them in the winter.
Yeah.
But as soon as it starts to warm up and their kids can run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're not only dealing with the ones kind of here in the valley, but we're having to send assets and deputies clear out to
and with that, it's not just Maryland's. Maryland said that there was 4 other properties out there that has been vandalized also. So I think we need to look at that, maybe get some more input with the commissioners here, with Sam and the Planning Commission, Brett, to see what we can do, because there's concerns.
Well, she said it's so bad that they don't even lock their doors anymore because they don't want them to kick their door in. They'd rather have them just walk in
Yeah, just let them come in.
or break their windows. So.
And it is, and that's a hard one. Where do we go? We know that state law says that we have to allow to a certain degree there, but I think we still need to look into it as to what we can do, and some conditions put on it, different parameters to put on it, and we'll have to sit down with Sam and the attorneys to visit more about that. But I think we really need to look at that, because we've got a lot of them in the county.
And
we've got chrysalis in the cities that have 4 kids, and even with those 4 kids in homes allowed under state law, we're still having a lot of problems there.
I was just going to say with the Children's Justice Center Advisory Board, we've collected a bunch of data already from those advisory board members, so each of the law enforcement agencies, and we're kind of using the CJC and Nick as the clearinghouse for that to gather that information. So we have some solid numbers and some data to look at as far as that goes.
Okay, so maybe we need to sit down and start looking at numbers of what we can do with that. But I think that's one of them that we do need to look at, along with that. And I know it's not my turn, but as we've talked about the data center and the solar farms, we've started looking at more things to put in on top of the actual ordinance instead of conditions that they can mitigate out. So I think with these group homes, we need to look at the same thing. What can we put in ordinance that they can't mitigate out?
I'm just curious, Terry, when you have met with your colleagues at like state meetings, have you heard of any solutions they've come up with? Okay.
No, but I'll run that around because we got another meeting this week that I meet with quite a few. So we'll see what we can do and see where they're dealing with that too. But that's a good question to see how throughout the rest of the state they're dealing with that. That's a good point. So we'll start working with that one where it's come up more recently again. See what we can do there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. That's all I've got.
Want to talk about the data center?
I've actually had a lot of data center meetings, including, and I wasn't at the planning commission. It was, TMI, but I was home throwing up that night. So I've met with a couple of different data center companies, and when I say I've met with some of their really kind of their top executives. And just to get an idea of what they're looking at. So with that, we organized,
That was in this cycle, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's funny because I didn't even have it in my calendar. Anyway, so with those conversations with those different companies, we felt like it was the best thing to do to try and put our eyeballs on a project. So we organized a visit to the Aligned Data Center in Salt Lake. There was about 15 of us that attended. Commissioner Robinson and I, Sam, Terry, David Johnson, who's with us, Nicole, our treasurer, Luke, our auditor, Mike Phillips, fire chief, John, our clerk. Had representatives from Home Builders Association with us. That's about, we had Brett. And realtors. Yeah, we had realtors, yeah, and Brett Hamilton. There was about 15 of us that attended. It was a pretty impressive facility. It's a large, 750,000 square feet, standing in, and it literally sits in the middle of a neighborhood. There's basically a residential street that runs in front of it, and the other side is a large subdivision. As we stood in the parking lot, there was no audible noise. They have a dark sky program. All of their lighting is downward. When we walked through and especially looked at their security is super tight. We had to have basically security clearances before we could go. We had to send a list before we could go for them to make sure that none of us were crooks. We were escorted everywhere we went. We were able to look at their generation, their generators. Those are all diesel generators there. And they cycle those through regularly. They have sound walls built. It was interesting when we said, how much water do you guys use? And they basically use the water to flush the toilet and get a drink. Their entire system is cooled with glycol as well as refrigerants, just over the counter. I don't know over the counter, but industrial refrigerants. In their system, so we actually went behind the scenes and looked at their cooling system. So their cooling system, every 10 feet, they have a shutoff valve throughout, probably miles of whatever. So if they do have some kind of a leak or some kind of a problem, they can isolate that down to a 10-foot section, and the most product that they will ever lose is 3 gallons. They have a little cord that it just looks like a little tiny rope that surrounds every piece of equipment. It's a moisture sensor, Said if you so much as drop a bead of sweat onto it, it will set off an alarm, and they'll have a crew immediately down there to evaluate. What else?
The diesel generation was secondary.
Yeah, diesel generation was secondary.
Yeah.
That wasn't that's a backup system.
A separate contract with the power company so that it didn't affect the neighborhood.
Right. Doesn't affect any rates in the neighborhoods.
Fire detection and stuff.
What's that?
Fire Chief Phillips was instrumental to have there, I thought.
Yeah, super sophisticated fire suppression system. It's funny when you get a fire guy, they look at things different than the rest of us. They're over there poking things and looking behind hoses.
Mostly didn't get in trouble.
Yeah. He didn't touch anything he wasn't supposed to for the most part, but he came out of there and said, I have zero concerns. He's like, this is the most sophisticated thing that I've ever seen, and it's super modern. And
From a fire perspective.
from the
it
fire
was,
perspective.
Well, and they had everything was isolated really well, so the
Firewalls.
there were firewalls in between where the data was, or where the cooling was, or where the basically a small substation for each section was, so that fire would have a hard time spreading.
What was the year that facility was built?
It's been
It's
up
continuing.
I think that particular building, 2 years, 18 months to 2 years.
Or three data centers on that campus.
Yeah.
And this was the most new one. The one did use about 20,000 gallons a month, I think, of water, they said. It was a different cooling system, but this one was completely glycol-based.
It was closed loop and
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting too, because we asked about, we asked specifically, we wanted to break down jobs. And
Oh, yeah.
the data center itself said employs about 40 people, and those are all technicians, HVAC, electricians, plumbers, things that keep the building running. They said that they will hire a kid out of, graduate high school and go get a certificate at the tech college, whether that's HVAC or plumbing or electrical, whatever. Once you have a certificate, they'll hire you and basically cross-train you in the other disciplines. So, but they'll start a person at $30 an hour the day they graduate school, and within a year or two, they'll have them cross-trained on HVAC, electrical, everything specific to the data center, and at that point, they'll be making over six figures. So that's about 40 just for the data center. The real job impact is the clients of the data center each hire their own technicians to come in and actually manage the data, manage the computer hardware. And they said they have about 300 technicians in and out of that facility every day, and those are mostly locally hired. I said it's the same technicians in and out. That's kind of their assigned data center, assigned area. So those 300+ technicians just in that one building that are out every single day make considerably more than the operations crew at the data center. Is that fair to say? Is that? What else?
One of the things that was surprising to me was the number of folks like plumbing, HVAC, electrical, those kind of just support people that the internal staff don't handle themselves. But if they farm out, hey, we've got to repair X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They contract with local. The more I guess technical things, like they have giant chillers on the roof, giant HVAC systems, and when they've got something there, they actually contract with a local company, a local HVAC company, to come in and help maintain those. And interesting, I don't know if John asked the question, I don't remember who asked the question, but they said, what's your turnover rate as far as employees? And they said, we've never lost anybody since we've been open. Said we've had to let a few go, here and there, but we haven't just had a resignation in over 18 months. They said we try and we try and support our people. You know, we've put a lot of money and a lot of effort into training these people, so we want to make this a career. We want them here 20, 30 years with us. We don't want to keep retraining because it's very expensive. They said, but with that being said, they said we're always hiring because we're always expanding. In fact, they said they've got contracts signed with clientele for 5 more facilities that they don't have built yet.
On that side,
No,
not that side.
no, just in general, they have penned contracts enough to fill 5 more centers.
How big were the buildings? I couldn't go that.
This one was the one that we were in was 750,000 square feet.
And just it was. You said campus. Is there just one building? Or multiple?
There's multiple buildings. We just toured the one.
But as far as sound goes, you didn't feel the earth shaking or.
In fact, Terry walked
howling
around with a
or-
decibel meter in his hand the entire time, even in the control room, even in the electric rooms and stuff. Like I wondered what Terry was doing because he just walked around like this the whole day, and he was walking around to weird places. And do you want to talk about that, Terry?
And that's sound is always the biggest question we get, or the second biggest question we get when we come to a data center. In our mechanical room, the most decibels we had in there was 95, and that's standing right next to some of the equipment. So the decibel, the sound inside the building is where my noise is. Outside, we had 96 chillers on the roof. 48 of them were operating. You could barely hear a hum from that because the building was about 35 feet tall. They'd come back in about 10 foot and put another sound screen up there to dampen the sound from the chillers that were in operation. So we couldn't tell the sound. Probably the average inside the building, 75 to 80 on decibels. So the sound is just not there. It's a concrete building. It looks like a warehouse, a very nice warehouse. Concrete tilled up walls. They try to fit in with the community. They do the aesthetics so that they blend in with the area. The sound was just not there that everybody complains about, that we hear about. So
Yeah, and we're working on another tour, which
I got an email late Friday, says that one might be on hold for a little bit because they're trying to get the generators commissioned. So we're trying to get another tour on a site that has a power plant on site, their own on-site power plant. So hopefully we can get that. We were looking next week, but in the next 2.5 weeks, hopefully we can get a site visit with another data center that has an on-site power plant to see what it's like up there.
So Terry, maybe you could address this because I don't know, but in my mind, I understand there's from that meeting we had the other night, the Planning Commission, that there's 2 36-inch high-pressure gas lines that Kern River has that goes past the proposed site here.
Yes.
And their high-pressure gas line carries a lot of gas.
A lot of gas.
And I've heard people say, oh, it's going to affect our rates here. I don't think it will. Do you know? I mean, have you heard anything?
No, from my side, it will not. It's not going to affect our rates because, just like Mike said, the data center we went to, all these utility providers are going to have separate contracts with these data centers that they have a different rate what they pay. It's not going to affect what we pay as customers. So the gas price is not going to come off of one of the lines that's coming into Cedar that's going to make it raise for every customer that's out there. It's going to raise and the Pronghorn, whoever, the data center will be paying their contract price for the gas, and it won't affect local customers and the cost of it. Everybody says it will.
Well, and I mean, even though it's a big power plant, I don't think people understand how much fuel that is. 2 36-inch high-pressure lines is a lot of fuel.
That's a lot, yeah. So I don't, and consumption is not a concern for the community here as to what it's going to cost them. There's natural gas out there that can be provided in those 36-inch gas lines that is not going to affect what we pay in our customers' service for gas here.
And I guess the term that they keep using is that all of that power will be used behind the meter. So all of that is, all of that's provided before it ever hits the meter that comes here. So it's there. It just won't affect. And these projects aren't going to be tied into the Pacific Core Come on.
Rocky Mountain
grid.
Power.
Into the grid. Yeah. So it's not going to affect the power that comes in the grid, because there'll be self-generated power that doesn't actually come through Rocky Mountain Power
Exactly.
or Pacific Core.
Exactly, and that's the difference here is they're having to produce their own power. The ones that are looking here in Iron County, they have to produce their own power. They're not relying on what Pacific Corp will provide. They're producing their own power. So any power they have extra, they would sell back.
And my understanding
would
was it was
sell-
1.5 gigawatt.
Yes.
A 1.3 million homes type
Yep.
power, so they might have access that they could feed back into the grid.
They could.
Correct.
And one of the companies that's talked to you, the commissioners, especially Mike, that took us through this first tour, if they build theirs, they will have power to sell back. That's what they're looking at, is to put power back in the grid to help subsidize the power that is coming in to the local areas.
Well, and one of the important things, if you look at the BZI Industrial Park, you look at Frank's Industrial Park, these new industrial parks that we have out off of
Iron Springs.
out of Iron Springs Road, they're not being able to reach their potential because they don't have the power.
Yeah. We have lost one business because of the power, and they could not get the power they needed. And it was a big business.
And so
They couldn't get the power, so they just put it on hold.
And so Frank and these other, owners of these industrial complexes out there are meeting with these groups regularly and these groups are working together with our already established companies to help solve their power needs.
And Commissioner Cousins, I think it goes back to some of our questions we've had in the past is, what about a nuclear sub-pack for them, for a power plant for them? We know that they're safe. We know that the technology in those, that it could help. So we've got other options that when it comes to these businesses may look into that too. And
I've talked to each of these guys about that, and they've all said that is not in the plan.
No.
Except, because it's just not feasible on a large scale yet.
Yeah.
But 15 years, when the permitting and whatever else catches up. But
that's usually where it's at, is the permitting process for
But
it.
as far as now, everybody's looking at natural gas generated power.
Well, and when you come to natural gas, I've owned a little Honda Civic that's all natural gas, and literally that car in L.A., the air coming into the engine, the exhaust coming out it cleans the air. It burns it cleans the air, and they burn. It's not like it's going to put out a lot of pollution. Natural gas is a clean burning fuel.
And it is. And to hit some of the top issues that the commissioners and the public has had is the amount of water they're using, the pollution, wildlife, and roads. We've all addressed that. Mm-hmm. And the two of you were at Planning Commission when I made my statement very clear that the data centers come in, they're going to be liable and responsible to put these improvements in themselves. The county will not be stuck with the expense up front. So I think that's issue. And the closest neighbors that we have to them that are 2.5 miles away, we had them in a week ago, and we had a very long discussion with them. They're a little more comfortable because they've looked at the Planning Commission, and both staff have reviewed all the concerns, and we've taken into consideration a lot of the stuff that has been major concerns for the data centers coming in. So we've addressed it. The pollution's not there. Groundwater contamination's not there. We're going to improve roads. Water supply, they're looking at with Water Conservancy, tying in there, running in a loop there, and metering it. And if they go over what they say they are, we can address that at the time, and it will be metered. So there's a lot of things that the Planning Commission and staff has put into consideration before we getting this far.
Well, since we're talking, Mr. Chair, but anyway, what we're talking about this, and in the meeting, I made the point with water usage. People just keep bringing it up. That's the biggest point, is water, and that basin out there is already fully allocated.
Yeah.
And so the water rights they're being used already out there. And so if they want to set up shop, they have to go out on the open market and buy those water rights, which means they have to buy them from someone that's already using them, and move those water rights. If they hook up to the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District, they have to bring those water rights and give them to the district to be able to use that water. and that's water somebody else is already using, and they'll have to stop using it.
Exactly.
So that's the issue with the water, and people keep bringing up data from maybe these data centers that were built 30 years ago, and it's not the same.
I would say even 10 years ago.
It's not the same technology.
And everything's changed. And like I said, up there, the technology, before we may even see the first one built in 2 to 5 years, the technology is changing. That
Very, very
we're going to be
quickly.
down on what we use in consumption. So that's where we're at.
Well,
And
and can I make one more point? So, and I think this point kind of gets overlooked, but we're talking private companies working with private property owners to develop this technology on their private land. The county hasn't recruited any of these folks. Really, the county's only responsibility is in that conditional use permit, but we're foundationally, we believe in property rights, and we don't have the right. The conditional use permit process is a little bit funky because the state law says that the county issues a conditional use permit, and if those entities are willing to meet the standards of that conditional use permit, the terminology in the code is the county shall issue that permit.
And the reason I look back is Brett's here. This is the biggest conditional use permit we've written with the most conditions that we put on any project in Iron County in the last 30 years that I've been here. I think right now we're over 60 items for them to address and that they've got to comply with before we can issue it.
And so, I mean, really, at the end of the day, we have a private company, we have on private property that if they're willing to address and meet all of the conditions that we put on them, we legally cannot block them from coming in.
So back to water again. One thing I wanted to bring up, and I clarified this in the meeting.
Yes.
The Central Iron County Water Conservancy District filed on water rights. They were unallocated water rights in the West Desert of Pine Valley and Wawa Valley and Hamlin Valley. Hamlin, I think Wawa was about 12,000 acre feet, Pine was 15,000 acre feet, and Hamlin was 10. The water district, and that was 20 years ago, they filed on those water rights. Now the water district has pursued the Pine Valley. They've done the EIS, Environmental Impact Statement. It's been approved by the BLM. It is being challenged, which we expected. Yeah. But I was elected on the city council 14 years ago, and I served on the water district for 8 years. And people are saying, well, the only reason they approved that the 15,000 acre feet to be approved was because of this data center. Well, 20 years ago, we didn't even know about data centers, and when we filed on that water, and when you look at the numbers, I think in the meeting they talked about at the most during ramp up would be 18 or 19 homes worth of water at the initial fill, and then maybe a maintenance of 3 to 5 homes of water, and so. When you look at 15,000 acre feet versus a maintenance of 5, that's a big difference. And it's not, I just want to clarify that people think in their minds that was approved for the data center. It's not.
It's not.
It's not even remotely close.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I've got.
Oh, you got?
You reminded me
Are
of
you
stuff
sure?
that I
Is that
didn't
it?
have written down. Yeah.
So just to touch on a couple things that I haven't commented on that pertaining to data centers. One of the good research deals that was brought into the meeting or the planning commission was Mr. Gray brought to the point that Three Peaks Elementary uses 2.5 times that water annually of what a data center would use to fill up. So that kind of brings it into perspective. And I made a point of trying to follow Captain Phillips around, or Chief, not Captain Phillips. That's the wrong
You
movie.
demoted him.
Yeah. Just to get his perspective, and just exactly like you said, he looks at it differently than I do. He's looking for things that I'm not going to see. And so I made a point of just following him around and seeing how comfortable he was with it and and he was very, very comfortable, which stands to reason. If anybody's going to come in and invest $15 billion into a project, they're not going to leave that to chance. They're very, very cognizant of the money that they're putting into that and the investment that they have into that. So it was a great opportunity to go through that and just kind of get eyes on it and wrap your mind around what it really is and kind of see that. The Planning Commission has done a phenomenal job, I think, in putting the research and time into figuring out exactly what conditions they could put on that permit and making sure that any conditions, the majority of the emails that I get of concerns are going to be mitigated with the conditional use permit, through the water, through the fire, through the I guess the only one that I haven't thought that was going to be mitigated through a conditional use permit was the effects on the antelope. And every time I go out to Waco, I have to wait for the antelope to get out of the way so I can go through the front gate of Waco. So I don't think they're very concerned with the big building out in their breeding grounds. So that was a really good opportunity. So after that meeting, I had to spend a couple of days up on the Wasatch Front for my job. So I had about a half a day. So I went and toured a bunch of event centers and pertaining to our future plans with the fairgrounds. I had to go to Roosevelt. So en route to that, I toured the Duchesne County facility. I toured the Wasatch County facility in Heber City. I toured the one in South Jordan. I toured the one in Spanish Fork. I toured the one in Nephi, just to get an idea of where we want to go with our future facility for our fair. So
What did you learn?
they have put an enormous amount of money into their facilities. Duchesne County has $1 million. It's like 1.1 a year that they have to use to something like that from their mineral rights.
Those guys are rich up there.
Man alive, it
kind of
caused
economy
me
there,
to be
isn't it?
extremely jealous of.
CIB is very generous to those folks.
Yeah. So it's impressive, and the opportunity is there, and I'm looking forward to continuing that project. The Planning Commission meeting, again, they're doing a great job of going through that with a fine-tooth comb and looking into everything there. I had an opportunity this last week. One of the couple of the things that keep arising that I get concerns about are stock trails, who owns county roads, what roads are going to be maintained by the county, stock rights, and Iron County is a fence-out county. And so I had an opportunity. I reached out to the Iron County Board of Realtors for their meeting, and we got a time slot in their meeting. I took Bruce Anderson, Public Works Director, and I took Scott Stubbs, who's the Iron County Farm Bureau President, and we addressed those issues with them. So as realtors are out selling properties and presenting properties to potential buyers, they can make them aware of, hey, this is or is not a county road, and the county will not maintain it if it is not a county road. And that's one of the continual.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we don't have roads that are always county that we maintain, right? What am I trying to say? Just because a road isn't maintained doesn't mean it's not got county jurisdiction.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I want to clarify is we do have jurisdiction on a lot of roads we don't maintain.
We don't maintain, right?
Yes.
And Bruce took them through the GIS mapping and showed them how to pull up that map, and hopefully they became more comfortable to be able to present that to potential buyers. So that was a really good meeting. There's a meeting this coming Monday at the Heritage Center with the UDAF, Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, where they will talk about drought and programs that are going to be available through the state of Utah for drought situation that we're in, for the drought situation. I also had a opportunity to go to SUU's behavioral science marketing class, did a project where they put together presentations for the county fair and advertising ideas for the county fair, and that we got to choose a winner out of that, and hopefully we'll be able to use some of all three of their presentations in marketing the county fair. So that was very good. And then last week, just scrolling through social media, I came along an article on KSL that Cedar City had been recognized, and that was a very vague, very limited scope of the recognition. Should have been all of Iron County was recognized by the, I got to make sure I say this correctly, International Mountain Bicycling Association. So Iron County, Cedar City was recognized as one of the top spots in the nation to come mountain biking. And so I reached out to Maria and congratulated her on that, and she quickly responded, "For what?" And I said, "Well, you've been recognized for your efforts at Three Peaks, the mountain trails, and everywhere around." So kudos to her and those that have pushed that and brought that recognition to our county. So that was a great thing to see.
When you're done, I got one thing I forgot.
Okay. I think I've addressed everything I've got, so go ahead.
I just wanted to recognize, so on Saturday, we had a big cleanup project out on Highway 56. Cleve Weaver, who is a school teacher at Cedar High School for many years, came to me a few months ago and said, "Hey, this place looks like crap. I want to do a project to clean it up. Will you guys help me?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Just keep me in the loop and let me know what you need me to help you with." And then as I would talk to Cleve, he's like, I got it done. So in the long run, Cleve did everything, and we didn't do much. But so what the project was from Maverick, from Airport Road out to the Y on Highway 56. Had an organized cleanup effort on Saturday, and there was different groups kind of assigned to different areas to try and get the whole thing done. And most of it got done. There was about 165 participants. We went and picked up garbage for about 3 hours. We threw over 650 DOT garbage bags, which are 6 feet tall. We filled over 650 garbage bags. We had dumpsters from Rocky Ridge that were donated and placed along the route. So people could just, not have to go to the dump or whatever, just put them in those great big dumpsters. We had volunteers from the Cedar City Police Department VIPs and the Iron County Sheriff VIPs that provided traffic control. We had early warning signs, so it was safe. But and Cleve was going to try and be here this morning. He just couldn't get anybody to cover his health class at this time in the morning. And so I told him that I would go ahead and report. But kudos to Cleve. It was a big undertaking. He coordinated with lots of local groups, and it was fantastic. I would encourage you to drive from Highway 56, out Highway 56 and look off the right-hand side of the road where all that trash accumulates in the bushes. It looks really good. We're going to try and coordinate with our fire services, mitigation folks to maybe clean that area up as far as mowing or cutting down some of those big sagebrush. To mitigate the fire, from chains dragging and things. I didn't realize what a big proponent of tying down your load to go into the dump. The majority of that trash is just styrofoam and little bits and pieces that probably blow out from landfill loads. So please tie your loads down. I'm going to do better. But a shout out to Cleve. I wish he could be here because he did the whole thing and it looks amazing. So
let's hear it for Cleve.
Here for Cleve. I'll go back and find this snippet, copy it, and I'll send it to Cleve with like balloons or something. So
That's a good project. We've done that two other times. Jamie Cox Harline years ago we did that, and it's real rewarding.
and it's
good.
I know we're pushing it. But so I talked to, in our cleaning efforts, I crossed paths with Mayor Steve Nelson from Cedar. We were coming one way and he was coming another way, and we met up along the way. He talked about actually forming an official organization of volunteers. So we have the VIPs, Volunteers in Police Service, that each of our police departments have. He's talking about forming a similar thing, but for public service with the city, and talked to Cleve about maybe heading that project up. I told him if we'd like to join on board as the county as well and make it a group effort, and so.
They could incorporate the Just Serve program from the LDS Church into that too.
Exactly.
We use that a lot.
And that's what he tapped into that for this project as well. It was really successful. I'm proud of Cleve. I've known Cleve my whole life, it seems like, and he's done something good for once.
Wow, don't
I'm gonna
send
put
that to you.
Well, I'm gonna put that part in there too. No, Cleve Eaglet does great things.
great,
We really
yep.
appreciate it.
I would have clapped harder, but he made me run a lot of pump houses in football. So
No, he was my volunteer when I played football in high school. Cleve was just a couple years older. He had just come back from a mission and was a volunteer coach. And, he's
Big
coached
pleasure in making you run.
that long. So, Cleve made me run pump houses too. And I still like the guy. So,
All right. Well, somehow we've consumed the hour, so we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll start back up at 10 after the hour. All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll go ahead and get started back up. We'll move to item number 1 on the agenda, which is a public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of proposed zone change. Ordinance 2026-6 to the Iron County zoning map. Zone change from R5 residential 5 acre to C commercial on approximately 15.5 acres generally located at the southwest corner of 200 South and 2200 West in Parowan, Utah. Applicant is Kenneth H. Adams. Brett's going to give us the presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So this item here, actually, let's go back. We can look at that vicinity map. Maybe not. So the property is located west of Parowan City. So this is the Parowan City boundary here. This is the south interchange where you've got the new Maverick. So it's just this 15.58 acre piece just west of Parowan City boundary. So here's a closer view of it again. You've got the new Maverick up here, the supply store, supply and repair, and then this piece right here, the 15.58 acres. So current zoning on the property is residential 5 acre. Again, here I've put the Parowan City zoning, so directly east of the project site, it is HS1 Highway Services zoning within Parowan City. And then there is R5 and RA20 to the north, R5, RA20, and some commercial to the west. So this commercial, you may recall, this was just a couple months ago that was processed. So that's those two pieces there, the BR Dudes and the Fiddler's Canyon properties that were rezoned. So this piece right here, again, the 15.58 acres. Ray Adams here is the applicant, is here. By the way, if you do have any questions on that. Proposed zoning on this is to go to commercial. So a little bit of background on this. So the property was previously commercial a little over a year ago. So when the county went through and did a bunch of tier changes and zone changes around Parowan and Paraguna, this property was actually commercial at that time. So it was, I think it was February of 2025 when this was changed from commercial to residential. So the owner and applicant would just like to change that back to commercial. And so you'll see in the packet that was provided, it went through these 13 different evaluation criteria, and a big part of why a lot of these evaluation criteria can be met is due to the development that has occurred in the last couple of years. That the Maverick had to bring in quite a bit of infrastructure for their development. So there's actually infrastructure, water and sewer, just at the northeast corner of this property. So I guess the one point to clarify again, this is just for a zone change. There's no development proposed. We've met with Parowan City. I know the applicants met with Parowan City as well. So before any type of development were to actually occur, they would then go back and approach Parowan City about possible annexation and go through that process if the city desires to annex the property. So with that, there's just again a quick overview of the project, but any questions for me before we have a public hearing on this? Okay.
No. So we'll declare the public hearing open for this particular item. Seeing none, we'll close it. Or do you want to?
Hi, my name's Marion Munn. Despite my accent, I've lived in Utah for almost 32 years, so I'm not a newbie here. I'm a retired educator. I've spent my lifetime looking out for kids from 5 up to sort of college students. So I am still very much invested in the future of our young people. This may not affect me for too long. I'm old. But there are a lot of young people coming up, and I do care immensely about them. I can't address all the points. There isn't enough time, but I would like to take up one, which is a health issue. I do know that natural gas is cleaner.
Ma'am,
And,
the
yes.
the agenda item that we're talking about right now is a Parowan property.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
In a moment, we'll
All right.
invite you up in a
Okay.
moment.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Oh, thank you.
You're fine. Any public comments on the zone change of the Kenneth H. Adams property in Parowan? Okay, Brett.
I will mention that there was one comment letter received from the property owner directly to the west. So the R5 property there, where there's a home on that, they also came to the previous commercial zone change property, so same owner there. They weren't able to attend the planning commission meeting or this meeting, but they just wanted to note their opposition to this commercial zone change.
And I
as well.
understood that was commercial when he purchased it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2013. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
similar scenario, where it was commercial, changed to residential, and now, on this one, proposed to go back. So there's the findings that were included in your packet as well. But yeah, the Planning Commission did have a public hearing as well, April 2nd on this. They did recommend approval of it. There were some questions that they had about annexation and potential development of the property, things of that nature. But yeah, they did ultimately make a recommendation for approval of the zone change.
Right.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the proposed zone change ordinance 2026-6 to the Iron County zoning map. Zone change from R5 residential 5 acre to C commercial on approximately 15.5 acres, generally located at the southwest corner of 200 South and 2200 West, Parowan, Utah.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll go on to agenda item number 2, a public hearing and discussion for possible approval of proposed zone change to the Iron County zoning map. Zone change from A20 agriculture 20 acre to A1 intensive agriculture on approximately 1,106 acres, generally located west of 1600 West Barvey Road and north of 2400 South in Newcastle, Utah.
All right, so that definitely gets us right there in the area, but again, west of Newcastle. Newcastle is a tier 3 area within the general plan. You've got Highway 56 to the north. So again, it's between that Jones Road and Barvey Road. 4 different properties of various sizes, but in total, the 1,106 acres. So here's a closer view of the site. The majority of the site currently is just being used for agricultural purposes, for those irrigation pivots that you can see. Current zoning on the property again is the A20 agriculture 20 acre. Proposal is to go to intensive agriculture on all 1,106 acres of those 4 properties. You've got some adjacent intensive agriculture to the south and to the east, and then much further to north you've got some R1 and R2. Once you're getting into Newcastle, that's when you've got some of the RA20 and the R5 within there. So again, proposal to go from the A20 to intensive ag. So there were a couple of comment letters that were in your packet that were provided. One from Ashley Christensen and another from Kyle Christensen. So the primary concern that these letters cite is the Newcastle well that is located north of Highway 56, directly just kind of north of this project site, about 3/4 of a mile or so. So on this exhibit here, you can see this is showing zones 1 through 4 of that Newcastle well, and then we can see the outline here of the proposed zone change. So there is a portion here on the very north end of the proposal where small portion of it is within that zone 4 area. So in discussions and conversations with the applicant and with folks with the Newcastle well, they do have potential plans. They've already got approval for a new well that's a little bit further south of their existing one. So that would probably shift these zones. So at the Planning Commission meeting, there was quite a bit of discussion on this, just because of the concern of, having concentrated feeding areas of animals, the nitrate levels, and how that could impact the well. So we did talk pretty extensively about that. So at the meeting, the applicant did voluntarily agree to, basically on 1600 South, this is a road that they've paved. Everything on the north side of that, they have agreed to not have any of those confined animal operations in order to be a good neighbor to, it's about a quarter mile. I think it's about 1,300 feet or so from that point to the very north end, to try and make sure they're not going to be interfering at all with any of that Zone 4 area for that well protection. So in the packet, there was an agreement that you saw in there that basically is voluntarily them restricting any sort of confined animal operations on that portion of the property. So again, zones 1 through 4, this is basically what they are, but 1 is just a 100-foot radius directly around the well. Zone 2 is a 250-day groundwater line time of travel. Zone 3 is the 3-year groundwater time of travel, and Zone 4 is the 15-year groundwater time of travel. So that's not to say that this was mentioned at the meeting and clarified too, that that's not saying that, in 15 years it's going to hit and then there's going to be the contamination. So we have got a ticking time bomb. That's not the case. It's basically 15-year time of travel, and during that whole time it's being cleaned. So anyway. Again, the same 13 policy evaluation criteria for the rezone that's in your packet as well, and then a summary on that. But any questions for me or for the applicant?
Will this facility have lagoons that tie into your other lagoons?
There are no lagoons on site or no proposed.
Would you come up to the microphone and tell us your name?
Jared Hold on behalf of the applicant, Escalante Farms. There are no lagoons in this site for rezone. There is a lagoon towards the west that was previously rezoned and is there, and we don't have plans for any additional lagoons in this area.
I did go out and tour this with your brother Kimball, and I was impressed with what you've done with the tarp and how to capture the gas and burn it off with the flame, and it appeared to drastically lessen the smell. I thought it was well done. So.
Thank you. That flare was running 13 hours straight just the other day. We have it on a schedule, and that takes all that methane gas and disposes of it.
I even got an ice cream bar out of it.
Good.
Ken and I got burritos.
Okay. That's the only question I have, is whether that would tie into the existing infrastructure.
These would be dry cow units, and so they don't tie into the dairy. The lagoon to the west is tied into the dairy, so the effluent does run over there, but these are all dry cows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, is that all you had? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. What was the recommendation of the?
Do you need to do your
public hearing? What was the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission?
So the Planning Commission did recommend approval of it, but they did want to ensure that there was an agreement in place for exclusion of that portion of the property north of 1600 South. So that's why we did, in between Planning Commission and now, we did work with the applicant to draft up that agreement, what it looks like, and you saw that in your packet. So the plan would be to record that agreement if everything goes well here. So.
Okay. So we'll open up for a public hearing concerning this property with Escalante Farms in Newcastle. Is there any public comments?
I also received those same 2 letters.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Brad, anything further? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd move for approval of the zone change ordinance 2026-7 to the Iron County zoning map. Zone change from A20 agriculture, 20 acre, to IA intensive agriculture on approximately 1,106 acres, generally located west of 1600 West, Barvey Road, and north of 2400 South in Newcastle.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Go ahead and move on to number 3, is public hearing and discussion of possible approval of amendments of Iron County zoning ordinance 2026-8, including modifying parking and outside storage requirements for single-family lots 10,000 square feet or greater in section 17.36.320, R4K general requirements, and clarify hard surface requirements and lighting standards in section 17.36.700, vehicle storage lot.
All right, so these two code amendments, just a little bit of, I guess, history and kind of why we're bringing them forward. The R4K general requirements, it's really just been kind of an evolution as we've started to see some development happen in the R4K zones. And working with the development community, there's really some of the standards that are required in there for some of the development that we're seeing just is a little bit incompatible. So the first standards that we'll go through are in the R4K. So the off-street parking standards currently, if you're doing any development within R4K zone, regardless of the lot size, it requires that you have additional guest parking, as well as additional outside storage area. So the purpose for this was obviously when you have smaller lot development, such as 4,000 square foot lots, each individual lot is more than likely not going to have enough space for storage of an RV or a boat or a trailer, whatever the case may be. So the intent was, hey, let's provide some storage area within the development, either on the lot or kind of on a separate lot for the community, so that they're not just strewn all across the street, because we've seen some issues with that in other developments. So we wanted to address that, and that's why the standard's there. So what we've been seeing a lot in R4K is not 4,000 square foot lots. We've been seeing anything from 10,000 to half acre plus lots, that we're seeing. Because that's kind of currently where the demand more is, in those larger lots, especially within the county. So what this modification proposes is that for any lots that are developed in R4K that are at least 10,000 square feet or more would not have those requirements. So if they're at least 10,000 square feet and then have at least 80 feet of frontage, we felt like that was large enough and wide enough to accommodate on-site storage on each lot, as well as providing additional driveway parking for guests that they may have, so that they're not having to park on the street. So that's really what this is to address, is just to avoid some of those parking and off-site storage requirements in R4K for lots of a particular lot size or more. The next one, this code amendment is coming. Obviously, you saw this section come before you just a month or two ago about vehicle storage lots. So it was the request of the Planning Commission that we come back with just a little bit more detail on a couple of the criteria that were within that section. So those two things were in regards to hard surfacing as well as lighting. So there weren't a lot of standards, or there was some ambiguity in some of those, so we came back to add some clarity to those at their request. So for the storage areas for hard surfacing, you can see that additional language added there. Initially, we just had asphalt, concrete, or equivalent material, so now it reads asphalt, concrete, or compacted gravel, and kind of just specifying that we do consider that a hard surface as well within the county. So just providing that clarity. And then for lighting, we added quite a bit of additional criteria in there just to try and help, again, first protect the night sky, but also to protect surrounding adjacent property owners from having any sort of nuisance lighting, next to them. So while we're on this slide, I'll just point out, and you saw this in the staff report and packet, but on E6, the Planning Commission wanted to strike some of the language, so they made that as part of their recommendation, was to strike this portion in E6 about the color temperature of 3,000 Kelvin or less, but leaving the rest of it. And then they proposed to strike number 8 here because they felt like the language in there was pretty vague, maybe a little ambiguous, and maybe hard to enforce, leaving too much up for interpretation. So they felt like striking that would be appropriate. And again, we did talk about how, we are in the process of drafting some countywide standards for dark sky lighting. So this is, I think, just maybe a precursor to that. Some of the standards that we would put for not just vehicle storage lots, but for properties, across the county and across the board. So we've been doing a lot of additional research on that, coordinating with other cities, with other counties. I attended a planning conference this last week. One of the sessions was on dark sky lighting, so got some good ideas from that as well. But it was good to see that a lot of what we've proposed here is in line with a lot of those dark sky ordinances that are being put in place across the state. So that's the overview of that, but any questions for me on those?
No,
I don't.
not from me.
Okay, we'll open a public hearing for discussion on the possible approval amendments to the Iron County zoning ordinance for parking and outside storage requirements. Seeing none for that, we'll go ahead and close that and entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the amendments to the Iron County zoning ordinance 2026-8, including modifying parking and outside storage requirements for single-family lots 10,000 square feet or greater in section 17.36.320, R4K general requirements, and clarify hard surface requirements and lighting standards in section 17.36.700, vehicle storage lot.
Just a question, is that with the omissions that Brett talked about from the recommendation of the Planning Commission?
Do I need to include that in my motion?
Yeah, that would just be the only, I guess, a good clarifying question. In the ordinance as it's written, it did show those recommendations from the Planning Commission as being stricken. So if you agree with those as well, then the motion could just remain as is, just to keep it as recommended by Planning Commission.
Okay. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is public comment period. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker for public comment participants. Please do not repeat what other participants have commented. This is only for items that are not on the agenda and no items related to the commission's role as an appeals board. And comments should be directed to the commission. No attacks on other people's character, please.
Thank
Welcome
you.
back.
Thank you. I'll finish what I was saying, though. So I'm really coming from the aspect
Sorry,
of
could you tell us your name?
Marion Munn.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm a resident of Cedar City. So I'm coming at it from the health point of view. I do challenge the idea that natural gas is clean. It's definitely cleaner than coal, I will say that. But it does emit fine particulates into the air. Utah Physicians for Clean Air have talked about this a great many times. These particulates, we may not be able to see them, we sometimes can smell them, but they are health risks. So we're talking about elevated cancer risks, heart problems for older people. For younger people, it's actually even worse. So childhood asthma can be triggered by this. In addition, we can have preterm births, miscarriages, and also cognitive deficits in young people. It actually affects the brain. So we're talking about putting basically, essentially, a gas-powered energy station in the desert here. We've already got I-15 running through, bringing pollution to us. Cedar City is growing, and this is going to be something that we need to be thinking about for the future. It might seem small now, but it won't be in the future. So I don't think that we should be trading off jobs and money, possible cuts to property taxes against the health of our young people and of all of us, in fact. So I think this does need to be considered. And I don't know what powers you have or don't have. You're saying you can't do anything about personal property rights. I think this is something that we need to look at. Yes, we might get some jobs. I'm skeptical, though. I have relatives in South Bend, Indiana. They've just built a data center there. They promised all these jobs. They brought in their own tech people, Koreans. I have no problem with Koreans, but they did not employ local people. So, they may say one thing. I don't think we should be seduced by people who have vested interests. So we should be thinking about our health. And we shouldn't be trading money for people's health. And that's basically, I want you to consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank
you very much.
Just going to come forward. I'm going to probably be rocking my kid just while we're doing this.
I just like to say we don't really get kids in here. This is kind of refreshing.
No, I'm sorry to add a little bit of extra noise like that. Hopefully they aren't too noisy. But I'd like to introduce myself first. I am Riley Cooper. I've lived here for about 8 years now, but I like to consider myself a little bit longer of a resident because I've been visiting Cedar City at least twice a year since I was 8. And so Cedar City has grown very near and dear to my heart. I originally came here for school and then stayed because my husband's family's from here. And my husband actually grew up with one of your sons, Paul, Ryan Cooper. So such a wonderful thing. But part of the reason I'm coming today is I kind of want to talk a little bit about our kids' future. And I thought I'd bring some visual aids to help that. One of the big things is this morning as I got up, I thought about how much I got them dressed, I got them ready for the day. I did all sorts of things, and none of that included AI. I think the way that the future is going, I think there's a lot of risk that in the future AI could come into my morning routine. And I really don't want that. I really want it to stay away from my kids. As a parent, I'm really concerned about AI. I'm also really concerned about the fact that, Marilyn Mann talked about the water, and so I won't go into that a ton, but we are in a desert, and I want to live here for as long as I can. My family's here, my extended family's here. And I hope to have my extended family here one day. And if we're using resources, which I know they're saying right now that they're not using resources, but there's been a lot of other AI centers that have come in and said, hey, we won't use your resources. And then a couple years down the road, they end up using a lot of resources. And so those are the main things I'd like to talk about. And I appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing those cute kids.
I told you this morning, Commissioners, that I would be talking, and I don't know that a lot of people know about SB 153. For those of you in the audience that don't know, SB 153 was just signed by the governor last month. And what it does is it takes away your privacy when you vote. It doesn't tell who you voted for, but it takes away your name, your address, your party affiliation, and allows those to become public record. For a commission, which I admire for pushing back against overreach of the government, whether it's federal or state, I don't know where to go. John suggested, and I will. I'll reach out to our representatives. The challenge is that I don't want Walmart to know where I live unless I want them to. I don't see the DNC or the RNC as anything but American corporations. They are not federal or government entities. And so for them to suggest that they need my voting record of how many times I voted, what was the last election I voted in, and what my name and address is just not necessary. So that candidates can find me, I'll reach out to the candidate when I want to find them. They put themselves in the public. I haven't put myself in the public. And what I'd appreciate is if the commission in the past has created statements and signed them as opposition to certain practices and policies. And I'd request the commission do the same against saying that SB 153 is not in the interest of privacy for public citizens. We don't have to tell people if we voted or not. I spent over 20 years in the Army as a reservist or National Guardsman, which I'm proud of, and I'm proud of the opportunity to protect the rights of people to vote or not to vote. And I don't think we should be publishing that information just because somebody wants to target my family. In fact, I'm going to go to John and see if I can fill out one of those exemption forms because I'm a public figure.
We've got one for you.
Thank you, John. And that's what I wanted to say, Commissioners. I'd appreciate if we would pass a resolution in opposition to SB 153, the dissemination of information on voters.
As the commissioners know, the trip to the grocery store isn't always safe when you're a public figure. And poor Evan got accosted by myself on Friday. But I did tell him thank you for not voting for this bill.
That's why I don't go to the grocery store.
Thank you, Rich.
Sorry, I didn't give my name. I'm Jason Lamro.
Thank you.
I'm pretty new to this whole political thing, I guess. But when I heard about the AI data center being built near the town that I grew up in, I see all these horror stories of these data centers and these large companies coming to small towns and promising all these sustainable jobs and sustainable forms of income, but they destroy these small communities. And on the note of AI, I believe AI is very unsustainable when it comes to education, when it comes to values, when it comes to moral clarity. I have a friend who's in college at SUU. Her educator very strongly supports the use of AI in education. But when you're receiving information that you can't repeat back, are you even learning? Her educator is always dissing on her for saying AI is unsustainable and constantly trying to disagree with her. But what education will you receive if all the answers are presented before you without having to find any information for yourself? I don't really have much to add. I'm not very good at public speaking, but AI is unsustainable, and I do not want a data center near my town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Nicole Phillips, Cedar City. I support the comments of Miss Marilyn and Miss Riley, who came before me. I'm wondering, what I noticed was that the condition that's not being spoken of here and at planning for the proposed AI data center is the condition of oversight for the future, oversight for health, for air quality, health of animals, health of people, cancer rates, air and water quality. Those all need to be monitored for the future, and I would like to see that be part of your discussion for future meetings, and I'd like to see you advise your planning commission to consider that as a condition as well. I want to buy a house in Iron County, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to do that with a data center downwind from me. I see where the wind blows. I have a hard enough time breathing as it is. I can't trust what you're bringing into this county. I think that you're trading away future tax dollars for a project that gives you some temporary relief to make projects, for example, the Beltway, to make projects in the future. And I want you to consider how many families won't stay here. Many families have commented that they want to be here for life, that they want their grandchildren to be here as well. I'm not going to, and many of your young constituents are not going to stay in Iron County either because they don't want to be near the health impact of a data center. Thank you for doing your due diligence. Thank you for going to, for taking that field trip out to another facility. I would like to hear some assurance that the facility you're bringing into Iron County is going to be built with all the components that you enjoyed so much when you visited the others. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I assure you that that will be part of our consideration.
Right.
And Terry back there will take that back to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Fife. I agree with everything that's been said and would want to have said that myself. I'll add, because I'm in the livestock industry, that where these data centers have been put in before, it is very hard for the cattle to give birth, to gain weight, and we're putting this on a livestock range. That's part of, we have Livestock Festival in Cedar City, and so this is something that you need to consider as it will impact how we grow and raise our animals out on that range. And I don't know how widespread, maybe you don't know either, that circle of impact will go. So thank you.
Ma'am.
Thank you.
I do know that I do know the seller of this property is one of the bigger cattle producers in Iron County.
I agree, and he is a dear friend of mine.
Okay.
And I would say that he doesn't know.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just you.
Oh, it's just, well, good. You ambushed. Okay, good. Hi, I'm Mike Kyle. I'm from Parowan. And I moved here in 2021 to be closer to family and to escape kind of the rigmarole of city life and the traffic, the pollution, and, city problems, right? But unfortunately, it kind of feels like the problems are coming to find me. I mean, via this data center. And, so I read through your study, the 320, I didn't commit it to memory, but I read through it. Very comprehensive, but I do have a few concerns. And so I have concerns about how it's being financed. I'm not entirely sure who this Pronghorn Development, I can't find any information online about this group, who's putting up the money. What assurances do you have, and do the rest of us have, that this project is actually going to come to fruition? I mean, the economy could change. There's a whole lot, there's a lot of things to consider as far as that goes, the funding goes. And then ultimately, do the taxpayers end up holding the bag if indeed, this thing gets half done and then the 10 years get run out of development get run out? And anyway, given the considerable energy demands for the center, more than all of Iron County's current electrical demand, if I understand this correctly, how will you ensure, and I think others have brought this up, but I'm worried about the air quality. How do you ensure that it's not going to be impacted? What kind of conditional use permit, what kind of regulation can you put into, the CUP in order to ensure that the air quality is not significantly denigrated? Regarding that, how do we ensure also that this doesn't end up being a Trojan horse for nuclear power? I think we talked a little bit about nuclear power, and I understand it's cleaner, but it's got its own problems as far as disposal of the isotopes and all of that good stuff, and given our sketchy history with radiation down here, I don't know if this is a problem that we really want to handle, you know. And then as far as what are the, how are you going to put into place the emergency response issues with this type of operation? I'm kind of talking about more about like wildfires and then hazardous water. How are you going to monitor that? There is a significant amount of bacteria that can escape from these data centers. As far as Legionella goes, you know, Legionnaire's disease is no fun. My dad nearly died from it. Yeah, 0 stars on the Google ratings, you know. And then finally, what are the effects, the projected effects on housing prices and supply? Because you're going to have a lot of folks moving into the county to support this data center, it appears. You know, what's the plan there? What are the plans to secure water and infrastructure, as you know, to support that? And ultimately, also, what are the plans to study the effects of the electromagnetic radiation, which does have a significant impact on childhood leukemia and all of that good stuff, and probably all sorts of impacts on the livestock as well. So anyway, so I am, shockingly, I'm not anti-AI, but I am pro-Iron County, all right? And I do enjoy the small town feel. It's one of the reasons I wanted to come down here. I just would implore you guys not to ruin the small town appeal in pursuit of the big data money. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Mary Stoltz, and I moved here in 1983, and I love Cedar City. And I've heard that given the situation of it being on private property, there's no way to stop it because there's no foundation for turning it down. But it's hard for me to understand how that can really be true. And I'm wondering what would stop it if there was enough opposition to it. It would totally, I love the culture in Cedar City. I think if this is turned down and it doesn't happen, you're going to have a lot of other people who want to invest in this spot. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, people want to come here, and the water you're going to use for this, the rights that you're going to allocate to it are going to be wanted someday. There's going to be other demand for whatever water is around here, So just, if there's a way to turn it down, I wish you could, because I think a lot better things could come to Cedar City, really. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Diana Gertain. I've lived in Cedar City for about 8 years. I have been to the last 2 Planning Commission meetings on this, so I feel like I've been trying to learn. And I think a lot of us here as well have been doing like a crash course on civics and how these things work. And I think what we're asking for is more transparency, where, you don't know where the water's coming from yet, but if there is, like, why have they already bought the land if there's not some kind of deal or something going on in terms of where they are going to get this water? We don't know where the taxes are. At the last meeting, Paul, you said, well, this is how it could maybe work, or I'm not sure a lot. I think we would love hard numbers, hard answers on where the taxes are going to go. Is any going to go to education? We have an education deficit right now in Cedar City and Iron County for our schools. So like, we just want more information. And or like if the company does go over its water meter, like we'll think of something, or it's going to happen, but we'd love to see there's going to be a fee if you go over the water quota that you've given us. So that is what I would like. And I think too, we don't hear any stories about how data centers use less than what they say. There's no news stories, there's no research. It's just time and time again that they are using more than what they originally quote us. And so, or there's more pollution going up into there. I'm really concerned that there's 120 generators being proposed for these buildings. You know, I think for each of the 4 buildings. Other communities are complaining about 30. So the fact that this is 4 times that amount and how that's going to affect us. So more transparency, more numbers, more hard facts, because I feel like a lot of what I'm hearing is, oh, this is what the company says, and we're going to believe them 100%. And I just have a really hard time with that. So thank you for your time.
Let me address your point on the taxes. I mean, this is as new to me as it is you.
Mhm.
Okay, I didn't hear about a data center until probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning too. So I wasn't going to get up in that meeting and say that I know everything. We did meet with the Inland Port representative as well as Danny Stewart, our former economic development director, and we went through about an hour and a half meeting learning about the pros and cons of going into the Inland Port. But we've still got a lot of discussion to do on that. So I wasn't going to say
this is
this way it is. Yeah.
Well, okay. So then I guess just in terms of more transparency, what's the timeline? Like, I can't find that information on the website. Like, what are the next steps? If that could be available to the public so we know, and so that, like, oh, it's not going to be voted on next week. That I think would be reassuring to us.
Brett, do you have an answer to that? Because I think at the beginning you said there was going to be like 3 meetings and you were going to, talk about information and then have a vote. So
yeah, we've had the 2 meetings with Planning Commission in March and April. So right now we're continuing, over that whole time period, we've been gathering additional input, feedback from Planning Commission, from the public, so that we can basically working on crafting conditions to address all of these concerns that are being raised. So right now, if we are able to, I guess, get to a point where we feel like those conditions are addressing all the concerns, we would take it to the Planning Commission on May 7th for a possible vote. So again, that could go to Planning Commission May 7th, and based on the discussion and conversation, they may or may not make a decision at that meeting. They may feel like there's changes that are needed to the conditions or that different impacts need to be addressed, but it most likely will be on the May 7th agenda for a possible vote.
Okay. And I can answer a real general question for you. So we've we've met with the school district in talking about this. Iron County collects all the taxes. Iron County retains about 10% of property tax actually comes to Iron County. The biggest taxing entity in the county is the school district. So just in general with taxes, the Iron County School District takes about between 60 and 65% of those taxes. And this is in a meeting with the superintendent and some upper level staff. Their first priority would be to build the new schools that they need and such. I can't give you specifics, but in general, that's how the taxes work, because the school district actually gets the bulk of the taxes collected. So
I love that, and I think that's great to hear. Our schools are investing into our future as our citizens. So, I like being around smart people. Thank you for your time. I do think May 7th feels like rushed when there's still so many things that are question marks. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Crystal Rockwood, and I am an Iron County resident. I live in Cross Hollow Hills. Thank you all, first of all, for your service. I don't know if you ever hear that much, but I want you to know that you have a difficult job, and I appreciate what you do. Paul, thank you again for your service over the past few years. I want to talk to you this morning about Vision Iron County. And a few years ago, I was here as chair, and we came again. I think there were 10 of us in the room. But for those of you who don't know, there's 2 items real quick. So it's a volunteer organization, and it's dedicated to connecting people and resources basically outside of their silo across multiple sectors. And one of the things that, when it was established, this is before I came, was to help impact, short and long-term planning. And one of the ways they do this was through a survey that was commissioned in 2019 by the Kempsey C. Gardner Policy Institute. Regardless of whatever your views of their political disposition, they still come out with pretty good information. And that was used, I am told, the year before I got here, by both Cedar City, Enoch, Parowan. That was extraordinarily helpful for them in certain transportation projects and so forth. So the new one is here. It took a lot of funds and stuff to get this. We came, I think it was in 2024, we asked for funds, and I think the number was bandied about of 10,000. It didn't come, but we were able to do it on a very shoestring budget with help from the Visit Cedar City Brian Head, and a grant from Goyo, and InfoWest help. But it wasn't that much to do with all that needs to be done. So the new one is here. You all know you can't give a couple hundred pages to the public. Ken's smiling. It's not going to get absorbed. But there's a lot of great information in here, as you can imagine, post-COVID. And we're going to release something shortly. We're going to have a little private meeting to get some of the key leaders in the room and saying, hey, here's what it is, right? Because I think you all need to know it. We'd really like to get your financial help to at least try and get a comparative analysis between 2019, where we are, and the ability to get this into different sectors, right? So for, I think David's here, I don't know if he would be interested, but definitely economic development, healthcare, right? All the different sectors, because again, there's a lot of really good intel here. So I'm told it might be somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000. They really want 10 to 12, but we came to you before asking for 10 and we got nada. So we're hoping, because there really ought to be the Iron County Commission that's a part of this survey, which is very important. And so we're asking for that. I'm asking this year, I'm chair. I don't know how I'll be able to do chair again, but I was chair in 2023 and here, so I'd really like your support to get that happen. And lastly, we've been involved in a number of events, and even by my own conservative estimation, we've had over 500 people I know at least come to economic development team meetings over the past few years. We've been working with the Iron County Farm Bureau, and in fact, Scott Stubbs is on our board, and an idea that we had last year was to create a state of Southern Utah food economy. So we want to have a report on what's going on with our food. You know how everybody starts going into their own camps when you hear about water. So I said, let's pivot this to food, because we can all get our heads around food. So quick thing, mentioned this to Lieutenant Governor at the One Utah Summit, because somehow she and I were in a one-on-one. And any rate, and then again at the Rural Utah Coalition. And so I went in January to the legislative meeting to all the ag ranch folks. Representative Shipp was there, Vickers was there, that farm, there were 100 farm people and so forth and stuff. Anyway, they're on board with it, and we met again, and they want to do this sometime in September, and we feel like it would be a great draw for Iron County, but also seems like Beaver and all the other counties are interested. So that's just one snapshot of what we're doing, and would really love to get your support and actually see you at one of these. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Crystal.
As a follow-up, we actually had a meeting here. Bob Ballou actually set up a meeting here a few weeks ago.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Joined our board.
Yeah.
I just had one last comment. I ask if you do, or if this does get approved, this data center, I ask that you hold these people accountable to what they're promising, and to keep a close eye on their company to make sure that they're keeping the people's best interest in their interest.
Just to assure you, sir, that's what a conditional use permit is. There's conditions that they have to abide by. If they don't, we can revoke those. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Appreciate the time to express how I feel about the
Could you
topic
tell
at
us your
hand.
name? So sorry.
My name is Jeff Coates. I live here in Iron County, and I'm an old guy. I'm not the most tech-savvy guy in the world, but I know that I've lived long enough to see technology evolve, and I just thinking about is this going to be a situation where AI is going to evolve into something that we don't want in Iron County? Is this going to develop into something that will not be something we don't want? It won't be something that we want, is what I'm trying to say, within our county. I'm all about growth, as long as it's the right kind of growth. You don't have to go too far from Iron County to some of these other counties in the state where they've allowed industries to come in, and it's become something that they don't necessarily want to have now. I know I don't think I'd want to live in Tooele County with all the problems that they've got storing all this nuclear waste and all that sort of stuff. Again, I'm not the most tech-savvy guy in the world, but I understand that things can change, and we need to be careful, I think. I don't envy you gentlemen, certainly. You're charged with a difficult task in growing the county and providing opportunities for the people who live here and want to stay here. They want to see their kids and grandkids live here. But sometimes we only get one chance at bat. And this is a time, I think, where we look and say, is this really what we want? Is this, we can't kick the can down the street and say, well, we'll think about it in 5 years after we've already got this thing built out here, and it's taken away from other industries, the agriculture and so on that's going on in our county. Where would we be without those opportunities for our kids, for our grandkids? So I would just encourage you to take special care and know that our future is in your hands. Not only our future, but the future of my kids, my grandkids, everyone else's families too. And let's make sure that if we make the right decision, or if we make the decision, that it's the right one. And I thank you for your time here this morning, and look forward to seeing how this develops. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
sir.
Terry Palmer, Iron County Building Official. I just want to thank the public, commissioners. I do want to thank you guys for coming in and giving us input. Okay? This has not been an easy discussion for us as the staff and planning commission. We put a lot of time and effort into this to come up with these questions, concerns. Okay. Right now, we ask if you've got questions, get on the county website, send emails to the building, zoning, and planning department. We'll address the issues. A lot of these issues have been addressed. We still are looking at more input and stuff. So please, if you've got questions and concerns and directions, send it to us. We'll take this. Brett, the planner, he's probably got 200 or 300 emails and input from the public. We need input. Okay, as Commissioner Cousins said, this is our first data center that has talked to us. We're still looking into it. The closest neighbor is 2.5 miles from this location. Mind you, 2.5 miles away is the closest neighbor to this data center. It's a long ways from here. Okay, we want input. We want information. Get on the website, send it. As Planning Commission staff, we will look into this. Okay, So as far as to one question, timeline, we have no idea. There's a lot of regulations they have to comply with, state, local, county, and federal regulations that they have to comply with. So that's what I wanted us to thank the public for their input and tell them that they can still send information in to us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. I also want another bite of the cherry here. So
remind us your name again.
I am Mike Kyle.
Thank you.
Still from Parowan. Thank you.
That
All
hasn't
right.
changed?
It hasn't changed since I've been here. I haven't sold it yet. Yeah, that's right. No, love it here. So I just want to kind of affirm that Brett Hamilton has been very, very kind to respond to my numerous dumb questions that I have sent to him. And he does read your emails, and he is very timely about getting back to you. So that's good. So I would just applaud Brett for his public service and his responsiveness, and you're doing a bang up job. And Employee of the Month, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure there's a Maverick gift card in there
I have a
for you.
mint. I'm going to give him a mint
You
at
could
the next
throw it
break.
at him. That'd be awesome.
I thought about it, but I don't want to hit Jake.
Fair enough. Hey, one last question before I go. I guess it's a little mystifying to me as the executive and legislative body of the county why you folks don't have the final veto power on this. I mean, you have ability to enforce the CUP and all of that good stuff. Can you explain for folks here? I think I understand, but just for the record and for the folks here, kind of tell us how the inner workings of the commission and the planning and zoning commissions work and who's empowered to do what. Thanks.
Yeah, I can kind of take a bite at that. So basically the easy answer to that question is the state legislature sets those responsibilities. So by law, things like a conditional use permit by law are handled by the the planning commission and staff. It doesn't come to the county commission unless there's a zone change involved. And in these cases, these areas are already zoned correctly and are allowed uses within the current zone. So by law, that's how it is. Now, with that being said, we are super interested. We're very engaged in the process. We've been really engaged in trying to meet with different entities, set up these tours. We're not just sitting back and letting that fall on that on the planning commission, but by law, by state law, that's how the structure is set up. Is there any more?
Sam, you want to add anything to that?
No, that's great. Good job, Mike.
Okay, so just to clarify, so the Planning and Zoning Commission has the final say on any development as long as the zoning has been approved in the past in kind of a I mean, I don't want to say shadowy, but I don't know a better word, right?
Sure.
Yeah, way of being approved. So then once that is done, then the owner of that private property has the right to do whatever they want to do
in that zone.
In that zone.
In that zone, and with and under the conditions of the conditional use permit. The conditional use permit is monitored by the planning department, the building department, by code enforcement. If there are issues of people falling outside of that conditional use permit, then that permit can be taken away, and business licenses, things like that, are affected by the conditional use permit. And so in items involving a conditional use permit, it does not come to the commission, but we're going to certainly be engaged, work closely with those departments to make sure, because a
I talk to people every single day, and I've gotten emails. I'm behind on my emails and texts. I need to sit down, and there's several that I haven't had an opportunity to answer yet. But because people come to the commission with these type of questions, you know, more than they go to other folks. And so we're very engaged. We're going to make sure that the concerns are addressed and work really closely with our staff. But in the end, by law, it's the conditional use permit is approved or disapproved by the Planning Commission and does not come to the County Commission.
So to get your authority back, I mean, basically we would need a state law that basically gives you and all other county commissions that authority back to actually control what happens in your locality.
Yeah, when it comes to conditional use permits and zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's...
Okay.
Yeah, it only comes to us if there's a zone change in this specific type of a thing.
And if it's like Commissioner Blake said, if it's zoned that way and there's a conditional use permit granted under certain conditions and they meet those conditions,
yeah.
If they don't, they almost have to approve it, because if they don't, we can be sued as a county.
And I've heard that before too,
and that's,
which I think is interesting.
Yeah,
right?
So. And I've been a police officer for a long time. Really, so there's a lot of discretion out there. I'm just going to use domestic violence as an example, because in the criminal code, if you have proof of domestic violence, if there's injury, whatever, that's the only law that says you shall arrest a person. Everything else, there's a lot of discretion to, but in domestic violence, it says shall. Mm-hmm. In the conditional use permit over on the civil side, it says if they meet all those conditions and follow all those commissions, it says you shall issue that permit.
Wow,
it's the same. I mean, and I don't know my legal stuff that much, you know, on this side, but it's the same verbiage. You know, on the criminal side, in a domestic violence, you shall arrest. On the civil side, if
you have a little leeway.
If they meet the conditional use permit, you shall issue it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, okay. I promise I'm done. Except to implore you with one thing. I think this is such a big deal, and there are so many impacts on the community. I mean, I would implore you guys to put together a bit of a citizens board. And I mean, if indeed, because I feel like this is going to get approved. I would really like it not to be. I would like for the record, I would like the brakes to be pumped and for us to study this more. Okay. If indeed they do move forward with it, I would like to see you form a citizens board, and I would be happy to come in and annoy you again with all of my questions and concerns. But yeah, I just thank you very much for receiving me. And,
no, I really appreciate, and I'll add this to that. I never met the Pronghorn people. I mean, it's only been a couple of weeks ago that I ever met them in person.
Right.
I have implored them moving forward that they need to take some time and energy to put together a public education and involve, and just like you said, involve members of the community. There are a couple of other projects that are out there that are inquiring, and I've advised them, before you get to the position that Pronghorn is in now by going for a conditional use permit, you need to put together a public education package. You need to be completely transparent, and you need to involve members of the community in that.
Yeah.
So like Paul said, this is brand new for us too, but I've implored those people to do that and be better at that, and offered our services. You know, we can help you schedule a room, we can help you get information out. So as soon as that stuff happens, we'll be more involved in that.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I would really, really, really like to see the Planning Commission have, at a minimum, those kind of public meetings before we approve anything. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, Mr. Kyle. I really appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay.
Jennifer Fife again. Sorry, when you're up here, you just forget the things you're going to say. And anyway, I just wanted to bring to your attention also, we have several fowls that are protected that live out in that area. We have bald eagles, golden eagles, as well as prairie dogs. I think there's 8 different birds. Who takes care of that? Who makes sure that those aren't being disrupted in their protective environment? And then also just a side note, as I've been noticing the data centers popping up, when they've been there for a year or two, the birds actually leave. I'm aware of one in, I think it was in Tennessee, where they were in violation of their conditional use permit, and they had to shut it down and remove everything from the area, and the birds returned. And that was a big difference that they saw. So impacting the wildlife. I honestly haven't found anywhere where there's been a data center after a couple of years that hasn't negatively impacted the people and the environment and the community. There just isn't any evidence of one that's been positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot what I was going to say, but I'd just like to reiterate that I hope maybe you, Mary Stoltz, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe you have enough power and influence to make it so that there's more time for the public to become aware of this and you get more feedback from the public. Because maybe that'll make a difference somehow. I don't know how, but it'd be nice to avoid this and choose better opportunities in the future. Because people are just coming here in droves, you know? They're coming here for the environment that we have right now. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, can I
Absolutely
speak for a second? Okay. I want to talk about something boring. It's boring until you are faced with it like this. This is a table of uses. And this is set by legislative decision. So in the world that Brett and Terry occupy, that's administrative stuff. When there's legislative decisions to be made, it's either the county commission or in narrow things like CUP, it's delegated to the planning commission. And if you look here, these are different uses that you can do in different zones. And again, this is super boring until it's not. And so if you come down here, there is one use called data center or data center power plant. An X means it's not permitted, a P means it's permitted, and a C means it's a conditional use permit. And those kind of decisions happen and are made by the county commissioners by ordinance. And so, again, this is super boring until it's not, but that's what drives how a lot of this works. That's why when you see, I'll see if I can highlight it here, the C, then that means a data center is a conditional use permit, and the top row isn't there, but so in those 3 zones, there, and there, which is to say A20, light industrial, and industrial. And that's why it lands the way that it does, is the legislative decision on how to set up the table of uses has been made already. It was made by ordinance. And so that's what drives, to get to your point, Mr. Kyle, what body discusses which thing, which use. And so that's why, in this case, it's a conditional use permit before the planning commission. That's super wonkish and boring. And like I say, it's boring until it's not, but that's what drives this. So,
okay. That's super helpful, actually, to see that kind of laid out there. So, I mean, one thing I would say, I'm going to take personal privilege on my first question. It would be really cool to see something that is simplified for citizens to understand, because I mean, we come here and we are deer in the headlights trying to navigate this whole thing, you know. Second of all, so how do other communities control what gets built in their organizations or in their communities? I mean, how do they, how do
It's
they
the
say
same
no?
thing. Like, for example, we had the conversation about the youth homes, right? And that's one of the uses. If we scroll down, we'll go to Y, and it'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's not there. Anyway,
busted.
Right, but that's how, and it's probably called something else. But those table of uses, which they come before the commission, we have these meetings, and there's nothing that's going to flag the public that says this is a great big red flag because this particular use is something that you might not like. Like, again, what drives the commissioners, as I've observed for 12 years, is we do respect property rights, and so the question is, what uses? I always use the example. You wouldn't put a brothel next to an elementary school, except that when we rode the train in Ely, there's literally a brothel next to the elementary school.
Right.
But that's the point, right? Like, that zoning is supposed to help with that, and how do we protect all the citizens without infringing on rights of property owners? And so it's devilishly complicated, and it is political. That's why so often these decisions, which seem boring, really are legislative decisions. But what happens is, by making that a conditional use permit, then that means that goes before the planning commission. Now the commissioners could say, hey, you know what, we're going to make this an X. There's no data center allowed,
Right.
Or
Again, I would just like you all to have enough authority to basically say no on something this big.
It derives from them.
Yeah.
And I know it feels like you feel like they're skirting it somehow, but that's not what's happening.
Well, and don't misunderstand me. I don't think you're skirting anything. I just think you're limited. I mean, in what you can do. I mean, you have the conditional use permit, and that's your hammer, and that's the thing that you can use. So
well, in
that's,
bodies like ours.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there was
Thank
there was a trend possibly in Utah where a lot of county commissions or city councils were denying. There was maybe a majority on those commissions or councils that just didn't like growth, and so they were just turning everything down.
Okay.
And so that's when the legislature steps in and says, no, you're not going to do this anymore, and then they basically take the authority away from us, because that's what happens.
That's interesting, because don't you have the authority? I mean, that's really why we elect you, is to kind of control the growth, control the economic development.
Well, we're a subdivision of the state of Utah, and they tell us pretty much what to do.
Wow.
Right, Terry?
Okay, how do we fix that?
Go to your legislators.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
The state is a subdivision of the feds.
Marion Munn again, thank you for your explanations. So basically what we're saying is no one can veto this. That's correct. At this point,
our body cannot.
Okay, so the conditional use permit that you are writing the terms of.
We are not. It's the planning commission.
So the planning commission is going to write the terms
With the help of staff of Brett and Terry and.
Okay, great. So can those terms be written in such a restrictive way that they'll say, no, we can't, we don't want to build here because you're asking too much of us?
That would be a very slippery slope legally. Brett can probably speak.
How far down that path do you want to go?
A long way.
To your personal property?
That's the challenge.
Well, if I was doing something damaging to the community, then yes.
Then
yes. So there must
who
be.
decides that? Who decides what's damaging to you and what's not damaging to me? And I'm being the devil's advocate, right?
It's a good question.
I absolutely love this discussion. I appreciate that you're all here. I love that you came prepared with facts and data, not emotion. Don't bring emotion in, because that just
Yeah.
everybody's hair stands up and you can't get
Exactly.
anywhere, right?
Yeah, totally.
But if we can talk actual facts and data, then let's have a conversation.
Yeah. So the question still remains for me is how far can you go in making it restrict? I mean, if you take everything into account and listen to, all the stuff, water use, environment, whatever, health, and you've come to the conclusion that this is actually not going to be a positive thing for our community, how far can you go in limiting that permit and writing in very strict controls on it?
Brett.
So when it comes to a conditional use permit, there's a lot of things that have been mentioned that are absolutely correct. Mike, you had mentioned from the legislative, actions, things that occur. John, you'd brought up the table of uses. So as far as how far can you go to restrict? So when it comes to a conditional use permit, you basically can only condition things that your ordinance regulates.
Already sets out.
So in chapter 1737 of our code, that is the section that regulates data centers. So there's basically A through M that are specifically things that we can look at to regulate and address. So prior to that, in 1737, it lists what we require them to submit to us for review. So as far as conditions go, as long as it is trying to address one of those impact areas of A through M, we can condition that. So really that comes down to, again, how far we want to go. I think really the intent of the conditional use permit is to mitigate and limit impacts based on the site itself. So rather than having a data center, it's not listed as a permitted use because we realize, the commission realized that, hey, we probably shouldn't just say, yeah, it's permitted, just get a building permit and you're good to go. The purpose was we know that there's probably going to be impacts that need to be addressed, that need to be conditioned, that need to be regulated. And so that's where those criteria in 1737 come from. So as an additional note to that, now that we have worked on processing one application, at the last Planning Commission, we talked about, are there some of those regulations that we need to address even further? So that proposal was presented. We're probably going to be coming back, in a month or two with maybe some additional regulations proposed. It'll go through the same process. It'll go through the Planning Commission for recommendation, and then it'll come to this legislative body. So that is, again, one of those actions that is legislative. As you know, you mentioned zone changes. Any amendments to the text in the code, that is a legislative action. So that proposal would come back as well. So again, it really comes down to, can you put any condition or restriction that you want on a project? No, not necessarily. It has to specifically be tied to an impact area that we have identified in our code. So the way that staff has currently drafted the conditions, and we presented those to the Planning Commission at the last meeting, we basically, instead of just numbering them 1 through 60, we basically said, okay, impact area A and listed conditions, impact area B and listed conditions, so that we could specifically show how each condition was addressing a specific impact area. So hopefully that answers the question. And again, Terry had mentioned earlier, we really do appreciate all the feedback. I think a lot of these conditions that have been drafted have been because of the feedback that we have received from the public. We've been able, we had similar thoughts, so there may have already been draft conditions there, but from comments that we've received, those conditions have been further tailored, to be able to address impacts. So we do appreciate it. And as far as I know, transparency was mentioned. We are trying to be as transparent as possible. Anybody that has emailed me, they're being added to my contact list. So I'm up to about 275 emails right now. Anytime I send out information, I will send that out to all of those folks. Also, based on additional comments, I think it would be good. Last meeting, we posted the Q&A to the website. I think prior to this next meeting, we would attach and include, the staff report as well as the draft conditions so that everybody can kind of see all of those things. Where anybody that's emailed me asking me for any of the information, I provide a link to it. So any of that information that we can make available, we'll try and make that more available to folks, because a lot of the questions, I've written down everybody's comments. A comment often was made, and I was able to think and recall a condition that we've put on the permit to address that. So again, thanks everybody for the feedback, and it's been very helpful.
This is on the screen. There is the Iron County Code for data center 17.37. I literally just searched Iron County Code and then scrolled down to it. It's not too crazy to find.
Deeply hidden.
Yeah, and any staff will try and help you find, like, the table of uses or the Iron County Code if you want to peruse that as well. Thank you, Commissioner.
A lot of times, the public, in good conscience, wants to know why the commission or the zoning commission isn't looking at every project without a list of conditions or without a list of guidance, I would say. And can you imagine how arduous that would be if you and the planning commission didn't have a list of approved practices? Yeah. That we would have to say to every application, well, let us create a new, completely new code for you. We don't do that. And so, as Brett said, we mitigate problems or potential problems through the conditions. So a lot of things are listed as allowed. And then you go through the process of saying, yes, but how will this impact that site? Because not all impacts are the same for every site. And so the Zoning Commission does a great job of looking at the individual site and the concerns that are raised and mitigating those. It's not a perfect world where we have the time nor the resources to look at each project and say, let's create a whole new ordinance and a whole new, just for them.
That's that application specific.
Yes. I think Paul said that there are diverse ways, and we won't list them all because of the many opportunities. And so as a staff member, I think it as was said, we learn and we see. Things are added because things change. I can imagine that in 1859, nobody wanted to do an auto dealership.
I read a quote from Henry Ford yesterday. He said, if I would have given the people what they wanted, which was faster horses, where would we be?
Right. That's interesting.
Right. And sometimes I wonder if we're not the one who are standing in front of Henry Ford's automobile factory protesting the demise of the horse-drawn wagon.
Yep.
So
Conestoga dealers were upset with Henry Ford. So,
right.
And I just wanted to throw out real quick, I truly do appreciate the comments that have been made, and I appreciate your participation, your preparedness for it. And I can assure you that I have not had a single conversation with any commissioners, any staff, any other elected officials where they're saying this is what's got to happen and man, I'm for this. And everybody that is talking about this is bringing forth the same concerns that we've heard today. Everywhere I go. And those are being addressed, and they can be addressed through the conditional use permit. The only one that I haven't had somebody bring to me is, who would you rather have do this? What entity would you rather have do this? What foreign entity, what foreign adversary would you rather have do this controlling our data? Because it's coming. We have to have the data storage. We're all paying for it. Everybody pays for it. Who would you rather have control that data than the United States? That's not an easy answer, right?
Hey, nudge again.
We got to move on.
You got to. Okay, one last question. I mean, so do you know if this is an American company that is proposing this? This is not Pronghorn.
No,
acting on behalf of somebody else.
No, they're a company actually based out of Salt Lake City. They're a long-standing energy providing company. They're new as far as delving into the data center world.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. I don't know their finances specifically with this project, but they're specifically an American company. It was interesting. I had a conversation with them the other day. They talked about potential customers. They don't release those. They can't disclose those, but they said, of potential customer base, they're looking at probably 5% that's actually AI. The rest is cloud storage type stuff.
No, again, I'm not. Again, for the record, I'm not anti-AI at all. I use it in my work.
Sure.
Right? I just want to make sure that I can still breathe at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that was and I can tell you from the other projects that I've met with, they're American companies with. And we actually, I know a little bit more about their finances and such because they've privied me into those things, and they're solidly American-based type things, and those, haven't been announced or come to light. They're not ready to come to this, position yet, but those are questions that we're asking.
Okay. Very good. I really am going to my car now. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. With that, we'll declare the public hearing closed and continue on to item number 5. Thank you so much for your input. All right, item number 5 is a discussion and updates on important meeting from Utah Department of Agriculture and Food and Enterprise and Iron Conservation District.
Thank you for letting us on the agenda today. I'm Tice Palmer. I'm the resource coordinator for the conservation districts here in Iron County and the other 4 counties that we represent.
I'm Jake Benson. I'm the conservation planner for Zone 5 down here.
And we are just here to give you guys an annual report of what we do. We are your hand them out. We are your partners in a lot of the agricultural business and conservation business that we do here in the county. We are the county ag advisory board for you guys when it comes to ag protection areas, and
that's something we need to work on.
Right,
we got a couple done last year, but we're looking to do some more ag protection areas.
Yeah, we have kind of a resurgence in interest in ag protection areas. We are basically in Iron County. We are the leader in the state, pretty much, of acreage under ag protection areas, which we started in '94. So,
thank you.
Talking about like a conservation easement, right?
Yeah, not an easement. This is the ag protection area.
What's the difference?
There's quite a difference. Ag protection areas are basically a volunteer. You're not locked into them. You're out. You can be out after 20 years if you want, or you can remain in. So it's a voluntary. It's just
tied up forever, like conservation easement.
Yeah, conservation easement is permanent, and that kind of goes through the Natural Resource Conservation Service.
Can I ask you a question really quick before I forget? I was contacted by a lady out of St. George. That's a relative of Alma Adams, and they were interested in looking at an ag protection area. My phone took a dump. I lost all of my texts and about half my contacts. I don't know who she is. Have you guys had any conversation?
I did get a contact from her, and we're in the process of getting back to her and helping her down there and see if she's in the county or not.
Okay, yeah, because she asked if we could meet, and I lost everything in my phone. I have no idea what her name is.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay, good.
The ordinance is in all 5 counties, but it's got to be in the county. The application has to be in the county. Other than Hurricane, the city of Hurricane and the city of Leeds created their own, which can be done too. So anyway, we're also a big proponent of putting conservation on the ground. Our current board right now is Nancy Clark. She's our chair. Mark Halderman's the vice chair. Brandon Hunter's the supervisor. Cody Staley out in Enterprise is on the board, and Keith Christensen in Cedar City. That's our 5 board members. And we are also a subdivision of state government and work under the Department of Agriculture and Food and the Utah Conservation Commission. So we like to come every year to give you guys an update of what we've done. The neat thing about a conservation district is we can enter into contracts and agreements and memorandums with the county, with municipalities, with the state, local, and federal government. And one of our big partners is the Natural Resource Conservation Service. Jake's office is based out of there, here in Cedar. For several years, we were able to receive a lot of grants to help out the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District to put in a lot of the aquifer recharge projects. So we were able to find money for that, and Commissioner Cousins is a big help to partner with us and the Water Conservancy District. And anyway, we're close to about $1 million going on the ground this year so far, year to date. Our fiscal year runs from July to June. So we've got about $1 million on the ground in ag resource development loans. That's another item of business that we take care of in our conservation district. That's a low interest loan for farmers and ranchers. We're putting up a lot of pivots and a lot of hay barns and things like that with these low interest loans. And drilling new wells, which is unfortunate, but we're in that business with our resource development loans now with our declining aquifers and things like that. But we're looking for ways to build that up with the projects that we're doing. So,
I have a question for you. We've been talking for a little bit about coming up with some verbiage for a drought declaration. Have you guys had anything come down the pipe that way? We're kind of, I don't know.
Interestingly enough, we do have some drought meetings coming up, which we do want.
What time does that start on Monday?
That'll be on April 20th, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And the Department of Agriculture and Food and the Grazing Improvement Program will be sponsoring these drought meetings. I'm sure that those will be coming up. The Commissioner of Agriculture will be down here to Cedar City as well as our Deputy Commissioner, which is over our GET program. And those declarations will probably be made throughout the state, I imagine county by county pretty soon. So
this flyer's a little misleading. It's the Heritage Building.
Yeah, that should say Heritage Center, so it'll be at the Heritage Center. Yeah. One other important item too that I forgot to bring, but I did give it to your clerk down there, and I will email you guys. We have a May 13th important meeting with our legislators, and we want all of our county commissioners from our 5 counties there, if possible.
Where's it at?
At the Heritage Center, also, same place, May 13th at 6 p.m. We'll have Commissioner Pearson there. We're inviting our legislators, our county commissioners, and our conservation and agricultural partners. We want to talk about the future of conservation districts, the direction we're headed, and what we want to do better and what we want to see improve, and how we can basically get our voices out there even more. Sometimes, as a conservation district, we're farmers and ranchers. We don't toot our horn near enough. So,
I'll be out of town that week, but I thank you for the invite.
If we can get a couple of the commissioners there, that would be wonderful.
There's something in the back of my mind that says I've got something on the 13th, but I don't have it in my calendar. I will not be there Monday. I got to be out of state on Monday.
Okay.
But I'll put this one in right now.
Yeah, put that on your calendars if you can possibly make it. That'd be great.
Tell Kelly and Troy hello for me.
Yeah. And lastly, you guys have always kind of helped us with a little bit. We only get a little bit of money from the Department of Agriculture and Food. We get a little $11,000 operating budget for each district. In the past, the commission has kind of helped us out with some of our operating monies. We usually come before you to see if you guys are okay. You give us $3,000 last year and the few years before. We're here to make that request again. That money's used for our clerk and for our no-till drill, other things that we do.
How many no-till drills do you have?
We have
for Iron
one.
County, one for Iron County and 2 for Beaver County.
Do you know where it is?
It's at Brent Hunter's shop right now.
You need it?
No. No, they're hard to find when you want them, right?
They are. And maybe in the future, if we can get some additional funding from the legislature. A lot of our money comes from the legislature down to the Department of Ag, and we can get more soil health. We are in the soil health business. We're starting to get more and more into that, and we've got about 3,500 acres plus, give or take, under our no-till drill, and it'd be nice to have another one. So because it's getting popular. So
yeah.
Soil health is one of the things that we do promote as a conservation district. So we appreciate your partnership, and if you could give us $3,000 or even a little bit more, we'd appreciate it. So
Where's Luke at? I'm assuming we put that back into the budget.
I think it's a budget.
It's probably there.
It's a budget item.
Also
It's there.
It's a budgeted
grasshopper
item.
Program. Our board buys pallets of grasshopper bait, and then we resell it to producers that need it at half the price. So that's our service to producers, and it's been highly successful on the mountain and stuff.
Amber's working on the grant on that.
Yep. So hers is a different deal, but yeah, we work together. So we've for years and years and years have bought our own grasshopper bait and distributed it, and it's been a major help for a lot of producers.
good program.
So just talked with Luke. It is in the budget, and
Perfect.
he would like you guys to send him an invoice for that
We'll
$3,000.
do that. Thank you very
That'll
much.
give him something to pay against.
You bet.
Yeah.
We also do the conservation tree and shrub program. We make a little bit of money on that every year. It's been a popular program for about 30 years ongoing. A lot of the trees you see in Parowan and Enoch, well, especially in Enoch, is because of our conservation district, the conservation windbreak tree program. So do a lot of good in the county, and we appreciate partnering up with the county commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Appreciate the
Appreciate it very much. Move on to item number 6. Discussion and approval of OHV recreation grant application to maintain OHV trails throughout the Iron County. Presented by Brandon Barrow.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hey, I have an issue that I've got to jump on a phone call for like 3 minutes. That has to be before noon.
Take a 5-minute break real quick, because I'm...
Or we can just keep going.
You'll have a quorum.
We got a quorum.
Yeah, you'll have a quorum. I don't want to be real. I'm just going to step out for a second. I've got some folks going into a meeting that needed to touch base. I'll be right back.
You're going to miss out on the most exciting part of the meeting, Commissioner.
The riveting part of the...
I want to let you know.
Super supportive, so I will be right back.
All right, Commissioners, good afternoon. Hopefully this one will be a little easier than previous in today's meeting. So just want to highlight that this isn't not acceptance of a grant.
Yeah, sorry, we have
although
our
the-
verbiage off a little on that.
Yeah, although the Forest Service uses a grant terminology in what they're asking for us. They're asking Iron County to enter into what they're coining a mutual interest agreement. This is for ongoing maintenance on the OHV trails that are on Forest Service land. What the agreement outlines is that the county will provide in-kind contributions through our heavy equipment operators, and our trail maintenance crews. And what the Forest Service will do will be conduct NEPA and give us approval to do maintenance on those. This agreement has a term of 5 years, which is a standard federal mutual interest agreement. There's no exchange of funds, so simply requires your signature as the chair, Commissioner Robinson, and that's all we're asking for today.
Okay. Thank you. You have that with you? Sorry you had to sit here for
So we
2.5 hours.
probably do need to do
What?
a vote on that.
Yeah.
It's an agreement.
Let's go ahead and vote on that, Ken. That's all right.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the OHV recreation grant application.
Would second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can sign it.
Which, am I the top?
Official now.
signature?
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 7, discussion and possible approval of Iron County Ordinance 2022-04 26-9, amending Iron County Ordinance 8.04.100 and 8.04.101 regarding closed and open burn dates, presented by Sam.
Spencer.
I don't see Mr.
Left.
He's
Okay.
Spencer is participating telephonically.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, I can tell the commission that Spencer just raised some changes that were made for open and closed burn dates, and he asked the ordinance to be updated to reflect that. You can see in the commission packet that I've done a strike through of what's changed and an underline of the additional language. I ran this through Spencer to make sure this complied with his understanding, and we're ready to present it to the commission to approve. Like I said, no true substantive changes other than the dates will be changed, and that's consistent with what the public has access to when they go to like a DNR website for open and closed burn dates.
So the dates are June 1st through October 31st of when you cannot burn?
For closed season, it's September 15 through October 31, and then when you can get a permit from June 1 to October 31st under certain conditions listed. And then closed, that's closed, and then open, John, is the section below. And maybe Spencer can help answer your question better, Commissioner, but
I can jump in, Sam, if you need me to. So statutory closed fire season, June 1 to October 31st. It just requires there isn't going to be any too much language change there. Still requires a written permit from the county fire warden. And then some of the big changes are the November 1st to May 31st, the open burn season. Legislation passed actually in 2024. We're just trying to catch up to it now on our ordinance. That in attainment areas, meaning areas that don't have a lot of class 1 air sheds like airports and national parks, they reduced the clearing index requirements from 500 to 250 from November 1st to March 31st. And then April 1st to May 31st, it would go back to the 500-foot clearing index. And basically all we're doing is just changing our ordinance to match what the new state law and rules are for burning that Department of Air Quality is put out. So our language matches theirs, and so there's no confusion from the public when they're looking at 3 different places that you can get that information. It's consistent across the board. Department of Air Quality has changed their language through legislation. Our state DNR websites changed their language to meet it, and we're just trying to catch up and change our language so there's very little confusion to the general public. Hopefully that clarifies that.
Yep.
And just to clarify, I failed to have this noticed for a public hearing. When we make changes, legislative changes to our ordinances, that's required. So for today, here's some information. You can kind of think on that, ask questions if you have. We'll reset this for a public hearing, after which I'll ask the commission to vote.
Okay.
Did you hear that, Spencer?
So no action on any of this today. It'll be brought again on another agenda. Okay.
Yeah, and I do apologize for not being there in person. Still down in Texas on this fire assignment, but once we do the public hearing, I should be there in person and can answer any questions.
And then,
Very
Commissioner,
good.
I wonder if we could jump to where we've got Spencer on the phone. Maybe we could jump to item 10 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah, did those guys have to leave?
They took
Dannon and Colt were here to address that, but they may have had to leave.
Yeah,
We
they're
got
not
Spencer
here.
on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had some other commitments they needed to go to. Just the public comment section just took a little longer. So they apologize, but I told them I should be able to handle any questions you guys have with the new cooperative wildfire agreement and then our PC statement, which I've sent both of those to John. So you guys should have seen those. And there's very little change. So the CWS, that cooperative wildfire system, we have to re-sign an agreement every 5 years. We just hit that 5 years. There's a little bit of language change, but no conditions have changed. Just some of the verbiage that they used, and that's about the only change with the CWS agreement.
Okay, so let's move on to the item number 10, discussion and possible approval of new cooperative wildfire system agreement with Forestry, Fire, and State, and Iron County. And that's what you just went over?
Yep.
All right, any further discussion on that? And so I'll entertain a motion
On item 10.
on item 10.
Move for approval of the new cooperative wildfire system agreement with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands in Iron County.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 11, discussion and possible approval of cooperative wildfire system 2026 participation commitment statement. We just need to sign that, Spencer.
Yeah, so what the statement is, part of the CWS agreement is that we have a commitment that the county is going to adhere to in reducing, moderate to high fire dangers by doing mitigation actions, prevention, and then preparedness, bolstering up our initial attack capabilities. What this commitment statement is just our actions. It's tied to our CWPP, which is our county wildfire preparedness plan. And it just shows how we're going to basically breaks down what our participation commitment is and how we're going to spend that commitment money. And so, yeah, that'll need to be signed as well.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on discussion item number 11.
I'll move to approve the cooperative wildfire system 2026 participation commitment statement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Spencer.
Yep, thank you guys. And John, if you can just send me the signed copies, I'll make sure Dan and them get it. I appreciate you guys, and sorry I'm not there in person.
Nope, thanks for what you're doing.
Thanks, Spencer.
All right.
Thanks.
Item number 8.
Rich, are you available to help me with this? The BZI upsizing.
Discussion and possible approval of agreement for reimbursement to BZI for sewer upsizing.
I'm sorry. We took so long, I thought my time had come and gone.
It did.
Which one are we on? What number?
8.
Well, Sam, I saw your name.
Yes.
So this is not yet
Well,
in our meetings.
I told Drake we'd already approved our rate.
Our percentage for the 30-inch sewer line.
Correct. And so now we have on the agenda the agreement.
We have not re-met with the city for the lift station.
Correct. And we have a clean agreement that is just for the 30-inch, not the lift station.
And we have a different agreement for the lift station, which is
not final yet.
Well, I think it's more flexible, isn't it? It's to be determined.
So are you saying you don't want them to sign this
We're not
today?
ready for this?
No, not for the lift station.
I love clogging your docket with things that aren't ready. That's my favorite.
I apologize.
Nope, that's me.
All right. So let's move on to number 9.
So we table that.
I'm sorry,
We'll
do
table
we
that.
bring that back or wait till you all get back?
We will have to bring it back once we've determined that.
So do we need
Do it
to
again when it's time.
do we need to do anything as a body then?
No action. Thank you.
No action. All right.
Sorry.
Item number 9, discussion and ratification.
And sorry about my phone.
Stay here. Discussion and ratification of a memorandum of agreement between BZI Innovation Park LLC and Iron County.
So what that is I'll get back to I'll explain it again so the public understands that are listening in. So when we got the grant for doing Iron Springs Road, BZI was already building out at the time. And Innovation Way was on the plans. With Innovation Way, there is a deceleration acceleration turnout lane. I, in conversations with Drake at BZI, I asked them to delay the construction of that portion of the turnout lane and the acceleration lane because I knew that the Iron Springs project was coming, and it would make a lot smoother finish if all of it was done at the same time.
Don't tear
So
it
the
up twice.
asphalt would be laid, it'd all be done at the same time. And as part of that discussion, BZI set aside the money they were going to spend on that expansion or those larger footprints of pavement, and agreed to give them to Iron County, and we would pay for it to be done through our match. So we just signed that agreement. It's $389,000 plus change, in which BZI will give the money to us, which we will apply to our $500,000 match. So we have $111,000 to come up with, which is a super win-win-win.
There you go.
They win, we win. Part of their win, and I'll be fully, I hate the word transparent because I think we are transparent. I think we always tell people what's happening. So I'm going to explain where their win was. Because the project will require such things as traffic control, their project would have required traffic control. Our project already requires traffic control. So their savings of that money, we deducted their traffic control out of their budget and did not. So they saved about $40,000 by giving us $389,000.
We got $389,000 toward our $500,000 match.
Correct. And so where this is for ratification is that agreement needed to be signed by the commissioner. He wasn't here. He wasn't available. Sam and I discussed it. I signed it to make sure that it got signed in a timely manner. It is now signed. So I'm asking the commission to ratify the agreement, which I signed last week.
Of the auto pen. There's bad connotations with auto.
What's that, Commissioner?
There's bad connotations with auto pen.
We didn't know you.
Oh, I'm not Otto. I have to use this
He just
hand.
signed it with his own name. It's fine.
I drew it with my own hand.
All right. We'll entertain a motion.
So I'd move for approval of ratification of the memorandum of agreement between BZI Innovation Park LLC and Iron County as presented by Rich Wilson.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 12. All right.
Yes.
Discussion and possible approval of letter of intent to purchase easement for belt route. This item may be closed pursuant to UCA 52-4-205D to discuss the purchase, exchange of lease or real property.
And I would suggest if we are planning on doing a closed session for that, maybe let's ask.
Save that, and we'll go ahead and let Jennifer present.
To be clear, that doesn't have to be a closed session. The commissioners, and I think John was included on the email with the proposed letter of intent. As I understand it, and I learned after I sent, the Iron County
Central Iron County Water Conservancy
has already taken action to approve that agreement. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it may not be it may not be needful to go into a closed session if you're inclined to approve it anyway. So
I am.
The agreement was with them.
I mean,
you're a party to it.
They're partners with us on this easement, so they can run a water line at the same time.
So, and to take that further, the persons that would sign that agreement is really Molly Halterman as chairman of the COG, Council of Governments. And so because we're going to be using corridor preservation funds, it's here before the council as a member of the Council of Governments. And we would encourage Molly to sign that intent to purchase.
as we are not in a closed session, I mean, is there something I can show what this is, or are we not ready to do that yet?
I mean, I think this
Is this a secret thing?
No, that's what I'm saying is I think with having action already being taken in a public meeting with the water district, the need for the closed hearing is lessened, if not taken away.
So I'll give a little bit of history too, John. So about 10 days ago.
Maybe where in the world is this project?
So I can tell you that, but let's start with about 10 days ago. I learned about this back in January, that the Water Conservancy is taking a effluent discharge pipe over for recharge purposes to Enoch, and they had tried to get some agreements of purchase for an easement across from the sewer plant over to Enoch, and it needed to go through some private property, and they had begun their negotiations. They approached me in January and said, "Why can we run this in the belt route?" And I said, "I don't know why you didn't come to me 4 months ago." Of course you can run it in the belt route. It makes sense that you would be using the belt route as part of this infrastructure. So their negotiations kind of came to a standstill back in February with the property owners. And so Justin Wyman came to me about 10 days ago and said, would the county be willing to sign an agreement to join us with an intent to purchase? That would get this thing off of the sitting point that it was, where it was stuck. And I said, absolutely, the county has great interest in the belt route. And so at that point, he created this agreement. Do we have it, Sam?
I sent it to John if you wanted to flash it on the screen.
So we need to tweak it a little. It needs to be Molly Halderman, who's chair of the COG. But Molly's had some personal issues that have interfered with contacting her. I haven't wanted to push her. So we're going to change. The Water Conservancy District will be a signature, and so will, where it says Iron County Commission, that really ought to be the Council of Governments, because we're going to be using preservation funds. So the location for this, John, is out. If you want to bring up the map, go out to the sewer plant. That's the fastest way to get me to show you where it's at. It's one of these things where you think nothing's happening, and all of a sudden it's happening fast. So the Water Conservancy needs to spend their grant. They got an extension on their grant from July 1st to December 31st of this year. So if we look at the agreement, it requires the landowners to sign this and then move forward with haste and intent to be ready to sell land in I think it's 120 days. Is that right, Sam? Does that sound familiar?
Doesn't sound far off now.
Yeah. There's the sewer plant.
All right, took me a sec.
So this recharge line that's going to come from the sewer plant will come down 23, which is right there below you, and then it'll come down to the belt route. Are you on the? Oh, you're on Google Earth. The belt route would show up if you were on zoning.
I can do that. Go ahead. I'll
So it's going to come down 23rd to the south. How much further south? Right there. So this is the belt route. So the belt route is on 6600 north. And once it comes across there from 23 to Minersville Highway, it will continue to the east. And there are surveys and other technical items being prepared for that 100-foot right-of-way to be dedicated or to be purchased. For dedication, it'll become county property. All the way to the east to Spencer Jones's property. In fact, in a conversation I had just Friday, it will go all the way to 91. And like I said, it's one of those things that I thought was slow simmer. It's going to be done by the end of the year, that the county will have acquired that portion of the belt route, which is about a third of the belt route.
So the stuff in the middle is still.
We've got little pieces in the middle between Iron Springs and
sewer plant.
Mid Valley. Mid Valley. That's the middle. There you go. There's the belt route, right there. Oh, and John, did you know you can turn down that background? Go there. Go to zoning. Go there, yep, transparency. I put it about 75, yeah, there you go. And it shows all that zoning. So the belt route, so this will come down from the sewer plant and then hit the belt route and go east until all the way to Minersville Highway, which is a huge portion of the belt route. So this intent to purchase is just us partnering with the Water Conservancy, but they are the lead on it. We just control we don't. We manage the preservation funds, and the COG approves its use, which I feel I have no doubts that all the members of the COG will approve the purchase. We have some work to do before.
So we need to just approve this so that Molly can sign it, right?
Well, we don't even have to do that because it's really Molly what we probably should do, and Sam, correct me, probably should do a poll with the other members of the COG, and because they don't meet right now, they're not meeting.
From my perspective, this was just an opportunity for the commission to express their consent to move forward in that direction, where you don't have to sign it, but that your action would be to say we approve the letter as it is intended anyway, and then make those changes. So I don't know that it's necessary to do a poll because it'll ultimately go before the COG.
It will eventually go to the COG. And we could possibly sign this one. I'll go to Molly. I'll ask her to sign this one in behalf of the COG. And it won't be approved by the COG until all the details are in place, the financial portion, the actual surveys, and property transfer. I just know the COG only meets
no money would change hands until after the ICOG
Right.
approved it anyway. So really, this is more of a letter of intent to give everybody a good feeling to be able to move forward.
Right, that there is in fact support to move forward.
And
So
so-
the landowner knows that, and the landowner will be moving.
So which private property are we going over? Because, I mean, we're adjacent to the 2300 and then the future belt route.
Clark's were listed as the property owners.
Yeah.
So here's 23.
Yeah.
So we're going to go right through here. And so this is Clark, this is Clark, this is Clark, this is Newman, this is RTCY.
Okay. So from all those folks. And will it eventually be within the belt route property?
Will what be within the belt route?
Pipeline will be.
The pipeline will be in our 100-foot right-of-way. We often work with the
It's just
conservatives.
we haven't acquired that property yet.
That's the whole purpose, to acquire the property for dual purpose.
Are we buying an easement or are we buying the property?
We're buying the property.
So this
The
will be
county
pretty simple.
prefers to own the property where the roadway will be.
The letter calls it an easement, but it does say a fee simple easement. So I mean, yeah.
Great.
Okay.
And I could ask Justin, but I understand he's in Europe looking at the tulips.
Nice. Okay, so do we need to take action on that one then?
I just asked the commission to motion their intent with regard to the letter.
Support the ICOG.
Do you support it or no? Yeah.
Whose turn is it?
I'll move to issue an approval of the letter of intent to purchase the easement for the belt route, and knowing that this is going to be signed by somebody else.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Jennifer, save us.
I will do my best. How's that? Thank you. In the Sheriff's Office Corrections, Rudy or Alex, Navarez and Chayton Lundgren were selected from the most recent competitive interview and selection process to backfill the vacant full-time deputy positions, Alex on April 12, 2026, and Chayton on April 13, 2026. In the road department, Timothy Goodman was selected from the most recent competitive interview and selection process to backfill the vacant full-time maintenance worker position, effective April 13th, 2026.
Okay.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve personnel items number 1 and 2 on the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anything with boards?
I don't have.
I don't have anything
Some good amount of action last time.
this go around.
Did I get Don Williams on there on the weed board?
That sounds familiar.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Very good. I thought I had, but then I panicked, and so. Okay, we will adjourn the meeting.
Don Williams, there it is. Okay.
Awesome.